Amani National Congress Party leader Musalia Mudavadi attended a church service at African Independent Pentecostal Church in Githunguri, Kiambu County. Mudavadi called on the Mount Kenya electorate to support his presidential bid, saying his core agenda is the resuscitation of the economy.
The government must work with you and for you. We cannot have a government that is competing with its citizens. Mimi mkinipatia nafasi, hakuna mtu yeyote ambaye atakuwa na wasiwasi kwamba anaishi wapi, anafanya biashara wapi. Tunataka Wakenya wawe huru kukaa pahali popote katika taifa letu bila uoga na bila kutisho.
I will feel very sad nikiamka katika ile serikali ambao itakuja na nikute Musalia Mudavadi hayuko. So wewe jaribu, Mungu anaweza kusaidia.
Mudavadi says he will introduce good agricultural practices and boost entrepreneurial activities in Mount Kenya region. His counterpart in One Kenya Alliance, Kalonzo Musyoka, was in Redeemed Gospel Church in Embakasi South, where he called on Kenyans to support One Kenya Alliance as it seeks to unite the nation.
Ndio mimi nikaamua na wenzangu tuseme kwamba nchi moja, watu moja. One nation, one people. Ambayo haitakuwa na Mkikuyu na Mjaluo na Mkamba na Muluya. One nation, one people, and one nation under God.
Na pia tumeona njusi wamekuwa Mombasa wakiungana pamoja na Mheshimiwa Uhuru Kenyatta na Mheshimiwa Raila Odinga. Hao ndio wale viongozi tunataka. Hatutaki viongozi solo. Wewe uko peke yako, unaelekesha Kenya wapi?
Tunaomba ule mmoja ashajitenga, sio? Hao wengine wote ambao tuko nyuma ya rais wetu Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta, tuje sote tuungane.
The Wiper Party leader also dismissed Deputy President William Ruto's fears of security following the change of security details at the Deputy President's official residence.
So mimi sioni hofu yoyote. One time, siku hiyo ya kukula kiapo, askari walikuwa wote withdrawn. Na bado niko hai. Karibuni sana Kenya. Mtazoea tu.
Karibuni Kenya, we never left. Now, the current wave of the coronavirus pandemic is taking a toll on Kilifi County, which ranks the 5th highest in COVID-related mortality rates. For the last 3 years, over 100 people have died in Kilifi as the county government grapples with ways of curbing the surging infections. Among of them is the closure of open informal markets. Now, our reporter Junaid Karisa dissects the dire situation.
A cloud of despair hangs over the coastal county of Kilifi as the COVID-19 infections increase and the number of funerals rise by the day. Although Kilifi registered its first case of coronavirus on the 26th of March 2020, the over 100 deaths over the past 3 months are far too many. According to the Ministry of Health, Kilifi's COVID positivity rate has stagnated between 12 and 18%, ranking the 5th highest county in COVID-related mortality rates. The Amason Kingi-led administration admits that ignorance, particularly amongst the elderly, contributes significantly to the exponential COVID curve.
Hatuwezi kuendelea na maisha yetu ya baadaye ikiwa tutakiuka kanuni hizi na wingu la COVID litusombe sote.
Informal air markets have been termed as the second leading mode of transmission. The county has already suspended operations at the open air market for 30 days. On each day of the week along the busy Kilifi-Malindi highway, an open air market takes place.
Jumatatu huwa tuko Tezo, Tuesday tuko vipingo, Wednesday tuko takaungu, Thursday tuko cassava, leo Friday tuko hapa na kesho tunatarajia tuwe mkoroshoni.
During the weekdays, small open-air markets such as the Mtondia market can host about 30 traders at a go. However, as the weekend approaches, the traders have to multiply to meet the demands of their customers, thus the likelihood of the spread of the deadly coronavirus. For 6 years, 35-year-old Stephen Ndeto has relied on the shoe vending business to fend for his close-knit family of 4. He doesn't believe that the market could be a point of transmission, but instead blames it on visiting tourists.
Wakati wamepatana na wengine wakazi wengine na maybe waanze kutembea huko mashinani, hizo vitu vinaleta. Kwa hivyo hata hii soko kwa watu wengi, hiyo si mambo ya corona.
For just a fee of 20 shillings a day, 32-year-old Evelyn Ombasa treks scheduled markets weekly to get a day's catch. A month's bill earns the single mother of 2 a profit of 7,000 shillings. The market's closure could cripple her 4 years' hustle.
Hapa ndio tegemeo la. Labda hata kama uko na mzee hapa ndio uko naye hapa. Mkifungiwa nyoto utafanyaje?
On Friday, after the directive was issued, we made our way to the Mkoroshoni informal market. It is here that we meet up with Beatrice Kabao, who had just stocked up in readiness for the market day. The 4 coming weekends will mean no hefty rips, as is the norm.
Kuangalia fees ni kubwa, sasa ndio naanza kazi, nataka kuendelea. Uone vile watoto watakavyolipia hiyo nini fees ya shule, alafu ndio kazi hizo zimekatizwa. Sisi tutafanya nini sasa?
On a normal Saturday, this place is packed to capacity, with traders hustling clients to get a day's catch. However, for the next 30 days, this place will remain deserted until the county can regulate its prevalence rate. Upon the lapse of 30 days directive, Kilifi County CSA for Health Charles Karisa says there is need to revise the guidelines in accordance with the health protocols.
This sensitization is not to really bring people to know about COVID, but it's just to emphasize and also using the statistics to drive the message home, put enforcement measures that will help us also transform the attitude.
A change for the better could be the answer the county is looking for in the face of affected livelihoods. Juni Karisa Mbele from Kilifi County.
That's a clear indication that we are not out of the woods yet, despite government, increasing its capacity as far as the vaccination exercise is concerned. Just last week, government received the Moderna vaccine there, and there are plans to also introduce the Johnson & Johnson vaccine. So do your due diligence, get that particular jab. Let's cultivate herd immunity. But nonetheless, we have been told that in as much as these vaccines have been approved by the WHO, it doesn't mean that if you're once vaccinated, you cannot contract or transmit the virus. Let's continue being vigilant and our brothers keepers. Now, over 50,000 households at the Osiri Matanda gold mines in Migori County have been forced to relocate after their houses were destroyed by earth tremors yesterday morning. The makeshift shelters, which are mainly used by artisanal gold miners, crumpled following what residents termed as an underground movement, which left visible gaping cracks in the region.
Say they were alerted by what they thought was an earthquake and scampered for safety, only to return and find their houses swallowed by the ground.
Pia hatujui humu ndani chochote ambacho kimetokea kwa sababu sisi tuko nje, lakini ni mstari wa shimo ambao watu wanatumia kupata mali yao ama mahitaji yao ya kila siku. Sasa kila ambacho kimetendeka huko chini yenyewe sisi hatujui. Sasa nawahimiza sana vijana, wakati ambapo tunaingia huko chini, tuhakikishe kwamba angalau tumejisajili mahali. Kuna mahali tumeacha majina yetu ambapo tukio kama hili likitokea tunaweza tambulika kwa haraka.
Some, oblivious to the dangers that they were exposing themselves to, opted to refill the deep cracks with soil to save their houses. Moses Owigo, who is among the affected, said he felt some underground movement but thought it was the normal mining activities taking place. Minutes later, he saw part of his house sinking.
Tunahitaji watu wa Red Cross angalau mahali ambapo tunafanyia kazi kama hii. Tunahitaji wale ambao wanafanya huduma ya dharura kitu kama hili likitendeka. Tusingoje sana kama wale ambao si wananchi wa Kenya. Huenda tukio kama hili kimetendeka kuanzia saa 3 mpaka wakati kama huu. Wale wa huduma wa kwanza tujawahi ona hata kuna mtu anashughulika.
Owigo said he has lost goods worth 1.3 million shillings. Osiri Matanda Gold Miners chairperson Kefas Ojuka said they are currently staring at a disaster in waiting and urged those in affected regions to consider moving to safer grounds.
As leadership, we advise our people to vacate the place because we are not sure how long this is going to happen. But kulingana na hiyo kidogo machache tumefanya upelelezi na tukajua hiyo panda wengine iko safe.
Ojuka said it's the first time they have experienced such an incident, adding that they will take the necessary safety precautions to save lives.
Wenye wamekuwa affected ni karibu they are about between 20 to 25 households wamepoteza mali.
Matanda informal settlement has a population of close to 20,000 people, majority of whom do underground mining. The miners are now appealing to the National Environmental Management Authority, NEMA, to assess the place and advise on the next course of action, given that it's the breadbasket of the region.
Well, that is 50 households and not 50,000 households. We will be keeping you abreast on what is happening in as far as news is concerned, but just after a quick coffee break.
Nikikwambia hauna tena kuongea, nimesema mimi namtukana. Maya baba kwa nakujali tena sana.
Kazi zimepungua, so I'll have lots of time with you.
Kazi zimepungua ama kit ama cha kukusumbua.
Babe, please.
Unaniongea vibaya lakini ukiniona mikono ya kuteleza vitu vishikike.
I cannot even break that up. Hata sijui calling again wala sijui nimemlina.
Sasa mwenzako nikikutuma, angalau pata mtu kuongea naye.
Kwa kuwa mambo uko ndani sina mtu kuzungumza naye.
Nani?
Ushauri kete na utaka sasa ni kuhusu kazi zangu, kampuni ya basi.
Monteya, you have finally shown up.
Tell me, what is your demand?
It's simple.
Jingwu, get His Majesty out of here now. Hurry.
Majesty. Come on. Don't!
Mother! Mother!
parte de una forma diferente, de otro modo.
You told Celia that you would take care of that when she was about to leave them here. Right here. Here. Here.
It's because I don't feel right, Nora. I don't feel fine. I'm so sad. I'm so scared for Max's future, for mine, for my babies.
I guess. It seems like they're all after the same thing, but I really feel that they have very different reasons.
We're siblings. You're my sister.
My brother? You're my brother?
Vamos, recobremos los momentos de una forma diferente, de otro modo, nunca igual al de otra gente, respetando tus espacios.
Good morning. If you're joining us, this is Good Morning Kenya, and you're bringing you what has been making headlines in the last 24 hours. Remember, you can get further details on our website, that is www.kbc.co.ke. Now, Miss Sharon Obara is the new Miss World Kenya 2021. The excited finalist says the journey to the crown hasn't been an easy one, but she's grateful for the chance to represent Kenya on a global stage. Now, speaking during the event that was held at the Trademark Hotel, Ministry of ICT, Innovation and Youth Affairs Cabinet Secretary Joe Mucheru assured the pageant of government's support, saying the talent and the beauty that the country has to offer deserves all the support it can get.
Ladies and gents, this is the moment you've waited for.
Beauty and vibrance characterized the evening at the Trademark Hotel as the 16 Miss World Kenya 2021 finalists graced the stage for one last show in a bid to get the much desired crown. The models will then proceed to showcase their different individual talents to an excited gathering of government officials and beauty pageant lovers present. Soon after, guests were treated to different categories in the pageant, including a dance segment, cultural wear, and the evening gown category.
But still, baby, don't die young. Colossal, we come these renegades in the rain.
The different categories of clothing will then end up paving way for the moment of truth.
But the judges are reminding me it is Sharon Obara.
Congratulations, and we have a new Miss World Kenya 2021.
The newly crowned Miss World Kenya 2021, Miss Sharon Obara, filled with emotions, finally took her seat and crown from her predecessor, Wavinya Maria. Sharon says with the win and the new mantle, she hopes to bring to light awareness on mental health issues.
Because the pandemic has taken a toll on a lot of people, especially mentally. So we are championing for inclusivity and ways in which we can help each other to make ourselves better and tomorrow even better.
These efforts are set to receive a shot in the arm thanks to CS Joe Mucheru assuring the pageant of the government's support.
We will step up and we will come and we will support you. I will talk with the Ministry of Culture as well. We will sit and we will come and support you. And what I have seen here today is going to demonstrate even to the rest of the world that Kenya has a lot of beauty. And with the beauty that we have to harness that, and we have to make sure that that is what we're going to use as we move forward
The winner, who was contesting for the second time this year, finished with a word of encouragement for those seeking to join beauty pageants in the future.
Don't let the external pressures box you down. It's all about what's in the mind.
She will be representing Kenya in Puerto Rico in December at the global competition.
Congratulations, Sharon Obara there, our new Miss World Kenya 2021. All the best ahead of that December showcase. Off to the counties, residents of Namatesi area of Mwingi North are calling on the government to provide long-term solutions to drought in the area. The locals say relief aid is not enough, and so there's need to ensure the area is equipped with regular water supply. Details of this and other stories from the county's news roundup.
Prolonged drought in Metamisi area of Mwingi North constituency has left many people here with nothing to eat, with some forced to trek for several kilometers in search of water. The situation forcing a local NGO to offer food donations to the most vulnerable in Mwingi North.
So my NGO is here, family, to intervene and they help this community. One, to get food, as well as giving every child we have managed to recruit in our NGO a goat.
Meanwhile, residents of Mathagesi village in Fafi constituency will now have a permanent water source after the government, through the Kenya Development Response to Displacement Impacts project in Garissa, completed drilling a borehole in the area. According to Water Resources Authority's Garissa coordinator Abdi Umar, the borehole can produce 30,000 liters of water per hour that will sufficiently serve all residents and their livestock.
It's in a severe drought now, and I hope this is going to alleviate the scarcity of water in this constituency. We have drilled so far 9 boreholes. This has been the last borehole. The others are already in use.
Elsewhere, parents in Busia have been urged to be proactive and create ample time to connect with their children and help them nurture their talents.
The parents will say that is waste of time. The children are supposed to go to class, they're supposed to read, they want their children to be doctors, teachers. When you hear a child singing, they imagine this is just waste of time. I urge parents of Busia to stop this mentality that talent is a waste of time, talent is misbehaving, talent is for crooks. No. Let us nurture the talent in children.
Education stakeholders say parents should take advantage of the half-term break and understand the needs and challenges of their school-going children. Finally, residents of Moya Town have decried discrimination in corporate social responsibility activities from the Kenol Mara superhighway construction. They claim communities in Machakos, Muranga, Kirinyaga and Nyeri counties residing along the highway have benefited from construction of markets, schools, boda sheds and health facilities.
Kuna plan hapa ya makutano pande ya Kirinyaga. Hao tayari wako na sheds ya kina mama wa soko, wako na shed ya bodaboda, wako na center itajengwa fish market, na wako na ring road.
Now from the counties into Marta sports, where Nancy Chelagat Koech qualified for the finals women's 1500 meters T11 after finishing 4th in a qualifying round of the race at the ongoing Paralympic Games in Tokyo, Japan. Our reporter Lena Shiveka brings us the update with the latest from the 16th edition of the Games that end on 5th September.
Kenya will be represented by Rio Paralympic 1500-meter T11 silver medalist Nancy Kiplagat Koech, who this morning qualified for tomorrow's final in the race despite finishing 4th in her heat. Nancy clocked 4 minutes 51.68 seconds in a heat that produced the fastest times, won by South African Kotsel Luzan, who was timed at 4 minutes 49.24 seconds. Nancy and his guide runner, who is apparently his elder brother, Geoffrey Kiplagat, affirmed that their target was to qualify for tomorrow's final.
Nilianza vizuri nikamaliza 800 vizuri, nikaenda ya 3 nikasikia chote imekuwa mingi sana, karibu kunitupa, lakini naomba Mungu amenisaidia, nimekuja na 451 na nimeingia final.
Tunaongea lugha ya mama ya nyumbani, so nilikuwa naambia yeye avumilie angalau tufuzu tuende final.
Another Kenyan athlete in the race, Mary Waithera Njoroge, failed to make the final even though she finished 3rd in the first heat, which was very slow. Waithera had very high hopes of making it to the final, but in vain.
Because qualification, we got the first to across the line. Then the 2 fastest. So unaona siku make first to across the line.
Immediately after the final of the women's 1500 meter T11 at 9:38 a.m., the men's 1500 meter T11 heats will follow at 9:48 a.m. Kenya's flag bearers will include Wilson B in the first heat and Eric Kiptoo-Sang in the second heat. Meanwhile, Pararoa Asia Mohammed wound up her participation in this year's Paralympic Games, finishing 6th in the classification event that took place this morning at the Sea Forest Waterway course. Reporting for KBC Sports from Tokyo, Japan, I am Elina Shiveka.
All the best, Nancy Chelagat coach, there as the finals take place today. Now, Tyler Curry and Griffin Ligare stirred as the Kenya Morans shut down Mali 72-66 in the final group match to proceed to the second round of the FIBA AfroBasket in Kigali, Rwanda. Now, Ligare, who has been used sparingly in the first 2 matches, exploded for 12 points, while Curry contributed a double-double with 16 points and 11 rebounds, heading into the last match of the group phase. Morans, who had lost to Ivory Coast and former champions Nigeria in their first 2 matches of the group, needed a win to remain in the tournament, and they delivered it in style, beating the West Africans. Coach Liz Mills, charged now, will take on either Uganda or South Sudan in the second round. Now, Vihiga Queens began their Sekafa Women's Championship League qualifiers on a losing note after suffering a 2-4 defeat at the hands of Ethiopia CBE in Group B match played at the Nyayo Stadium. Maureen Ocheng's double wasn't enough for Vihiga as CBE capitalized on defensive lapses to punish the Kenyan outfit. CBE scored their goals through Medina Bursa, who grabbed a hat-trick, while Loza Geniore scored a goal to hand their side a crucial win. In another Group B match played earlier, Yei joint stars of South Sudan beat Zanzibar's New Generation 2-1 in the semi-finals of the 8-team tournament that are scheduled for September 6th, while the final will be played on September 9th, with the winner clinching the sole ticket to represent Sekafa Zone at the inaugural CAF Women's Championship League finals in Egypt. Well, that's that. And just as we started off with an update this morning, just to tell you that there were so many games that were played over the weekend. As far as the EPL match day 3 was concerned, we had Manchester United there taking on Wolves there, or to continue to win. Then 10-man Chelsea held to a 1-1 draw with Liverpool at the Anfield Stadium. And we do not want to remind you what happened on Saturday, where Arsenal lost its game. So do keep it KBC Channel 1. We have updates on matters, sports, business, as well as what is happening in our political area. Remember, it is the season. It is the season of politics, and talking about politics, I'm sure politics is part of Victor's business as far as Good Morning Kenya is concerned. We're going to be giving you updates on what has been captured in our various dailies this morning. But before that, we take a breather. We'll be right back.
still keeping us company, we want to get started within the headlines. We just get to have a quick look at what the dailies have for us this morning. Hashtag still remains to be Good Morning Kenya. I have a copy of the Daily Nation. Not many stories that have been featured here on the front page, but starting with this particular story here on the top concerning the Deputy President's security as the drama continues to unfold, with now MPs allied to the Deputy President now demand the summoning of top civil servants to explain the changes, because as per what is currently the President and the Deputy President are offered the same security. But we have seen what unfolded this past weekend, so we are yet to see how this is going to be playing out today, because some of these MPs have also summoned Victor.
Yes. All right. I hope we are good to go. Very well. Oh, yes. All right. So let's take a look at. Let me just check on that. We are doing pretty well. Oh, good. Yes. That's the effect of having our live transmission. Okay, so let's take a look at what's happening on the front page of the Star newspaper. Here I have the Star and the People Daily. But let me start with the Star newspaper. Focus on Tuju and Murathe as party revamp looms. Kenyatta endorsed sweeping changes during meeting with Kileweke. That is a meeting that took place on Friday, and now the president has now ceded ground to make certain changes in the Jubilee Party, mostly from the Kileweke faction. And now they have been given 2 weeks to come up with probable names that will take over the positions of Tuju and Murathe. That is on the front page of the Star newspaper here. And pictorials, there is a story here which I believe Jen will handle this later on in the program. A girl 17 years of age pulled out of school to wed teacher who is 26-year-old in Marsabit. 17 to 26. I may not have Jen will talk about this later on, but pulling a girl who is supposed to be in school 17 years, should be around Form 3,
yes,
thereabout, to wed a teacher who is already working. To say the least, we need to get rid of some of this retrogressive kind of culture. That girl should be in school. There is no two way about it. That girl should be in school. A teacher went to school and now he's working. So, right, that lady should be allowed to be back in school. Now, there is that story there of the mother of the two brothers who were murdered in Kitengela. Now says that the only thing she needs is justice for her two sons, and that's the only thing that will now wipe away her tears. Raila takes first step in climbing Mount Kenya. ODM leader Raila Odinga on Sunday took his unity campaigns to Mount Kenya region as he intensifies efforts to claw back Deputy President William Ruto's perceived dominance in the region. He was in Kegumo constituency where he also attended a church service there. Briefly, police address police officers' mental health. National Police Service urged. National Police Service Chairperson Eliud Kinuthia has been urged to deal with the increasing cases of mental instability witnessed among police officers. This is again something that we've discussed here before, and I think generally police officers should be given that psychological and mental health and preparedness in their line of duty. Jen, if you have something?
Yes, apologies for that earlier on hitch, but coming to the front page of the Daily Nation, not many stories have been captured here on the front page. One of the top stories here on the header is in regards to Deputy President William Ruto's security as the drama now heads to Parliament. Now MPs that are allied to Deputy President are demanding the summoning of top civil servants, saying that in as much as the Deputy President continues to downplay the changes, to his guarding, and now that he's been given security by the administration police officers, they want to understand what brought about these changes, because as per what they know, the deputy president and the president are both entitled to the same elite guards, and this is for their offices and their properties. But now they have written and gone ahead to summon the National Assembly. They're going to the National Assembly and the Senate to summon the head of public service, that is Joseph Kinyua, Interior Cabinet Secretary Fred Matiang'i, Inspector of Police Hilary Mutiambai, as well as the GSU Commandant, to explain the downgrading of Deputy President's security. And they also, in this particular letter, they cited an incident that happened back in 2017 where a gunman broke into Dr. Ruto's home in Wasingishu, and given now he's being offered security by AP officers, this is exposing him as the deputy president to a lot of danger. And of course, the deputy president went on to say that he doesn't mind being guarded by AP officers. If anything, bring even G4S officers to his properties. But this is something that the DP also said that the new security detail might have been sent to his home with ulterior motives. In as much as he doesn't mind it, him as well as his allies are still questioning why the changes, why the downgrading, given him and the president are entitled to the same elite protection. That is what has been captured here on the top of the Daily Nation. Coming to the main read, Raila's big promise to Mount Kenya voters if they do vote for him as president. And just looking at some of the pre-election pledges that are being made all over the place, Raila Odinga did declare he's open to dialogue when it comes to defining and getting the best contest partnership from the Mount Kenya region. And of course, this ignited a lot of speculation and people questioning as to whether he's going to pick a running mate from the Mount Kenya region or from his home area. That, ladies and gentlemen, is the front page of the Daily Nation for you this morning. Regina.
Into the details, and as far as these stories that have been captured, because it seems that the scribes have been reading from the same scripts, matters of politics, issues of why it is a do or die for the three. And when I say the three, is ODM leader Raila Odinga, Wipers Kalonzo Musyoka, and ANC Musalia Mudavadi. That is what we have on the front page of the Standard this morning. So 3 issues, or rather 5 issues have come out and have been given precedence on the front page, and I want to read them as they appear. First, the age factor and the rise of young politicians could deny them a chance in the 2027 polls. Just to give you the numbers, is that by 2027, Raila Odinga will be 82 years old, while Kalonzo will be 73 and Musalia Mudavadi 66. Now, catching up with Deputy William Ruto, who has started his campaigns early. That's the second issue. The third issue is that less than a year to the general election, they are yet to crystallize alliances. Remember, we saw a meeting between the president, that is President Uhuru Kenyatta, and members of OCA, and that is Kalonzo Mudavadi and Wetangula, who are working on a one outfit. And there was, there were efforts to actually convince the OCA principals to enter into a political arrangement with the ODM leader in next year's polls. And this hasn't borne fruit. It didn't bear fruit then. To date, we've not been told where OCA stands in as far as a Raila presidency is concerned, or rather candidature. Fourth issue, they are yet to craft their campaign message to Kenyans on the agenda, just as that story we had highlighted for you this morning in the headlines, and you can get further details on our website. You have seen Wiper address the public differently, while Musalia Mudavadi also was addressing the public over the weekend separately. They're yet to come up with a crystallized, campaign message for Kenyans under the new ship, so to speak, which is OCA. Fifth, Uhuru's unity attempt could earn them project tag, which could hurt their quest. We have been talking about, the kingmaker, the trial, or rather the trial that befalls someone who has been seemingly appointed as to take over or a project of the current presidency. Political analysts have different views in regard to that. We're going to be having them in the course of this particular show, Monday through Thursday, just looking at why is it a do or die for Kalonzo and Raila as well as Mudavadi in the 2022 general elections. Now, I want to quote what Javans Bigambo, a political analyst, has to say in regard to that. He says the three politicians are working hard towards political oblivion. They are using the same old tactics, the same path without new ideas, no strategy to charm new voters. Those are words read word by word as presented or written by Javans Bigambo, a political analyst. Remember, we also welcome your view in regard to what we have broadcast, the stories, politics, business, and even sports. You can get us on Twitter at KBC Channel 1. To you, Victor.
All right. So there's a story here of 5 people who died after tire burst in Londiani. The hired vehicle was heading to Kisumu from Nakuru when accident happened. It is reported that a number of passengers were admitted to hospital after the crash at Jobat near the Kericho-Londiani junction on the busy Kericho-Nakuru highway. 3 of the passengers died on the spot, 2 others at Londiani Sub-County Hospital, while the 5 bodies are at the hospital mortuary. So we just send our condolences to the affected families and grace. All right, so Raila intensifies Mount Kenya foray as he ups bid to beat Ruto wave. ODM leader moves to counter DP's hustler movement, pledges better returns for resident. The former Prime Minister laid bare to faithful gathered in Kigumo, Murang'a County his plans for the region should he ascend to presidency. The ODM leader said that he had big plans to solve farmers' woes in the tea, coffee, avocado, milk, among other sectors of the agricultural economy. Raila has increased his forays into Mount Kenya, the church meetings coming a day after he addressed the Kikuyu Nation via FM station. So that is as far as political scene is concerned in the mountain. And C.S. Mushiru says that I fear no one except God, and youth must be told the truth. He says that he has the responsibility to raise his voice against the deceit. ICT Cabinet Secretary Joe Musheru has said that he fears no man except God and will tell the truth to the youth he claimed have been misled by some politicians, which I think is quite important. As far as speaking the truth is important to everyone, to all the politicians. All right. So the Deputy President says that Kenya's security system should not be politicized. DP says that changes should be handled with care to tame possible divisions, and he said that the police should be allowed to work independently. Remember, he's been on the forefront saying that some of these independent bodies should be allowed to work independently. And Ruto said that security theatrics being witnessed is a deliberate plan to distract him from furthering the politics of issues, development programs, and unity of the country. Okay, so at that particular point, I think it's good for us to take a break. When we come back, newspaper review still continues. Yes, we are good that way. Stick around, we'll be right back.
De una forma diferente, de otro modo
You told Celia that you would take care of that when she was about to leave them here. Right here. Here. Here.
It's because I don't feel right, Nora. I don't feel fine. I'm so sad. I'm so scared for Max's future, for mine, for my babies.
I guess. It seems like they're all after the same thing, but I really feel that they have very different reasons.
We're siblings. You're my sister.
My brother? You're my brother?
Vamos, recobremos los momentos de una forma diferente, de otro modo, nunca igual al de otra gente, respetando tus espacios.
Ningekwambia hauna tena kuongea, nimesema mimi natukana. Maya baba kwa nakujali tena sana.
Kazi zimepungua, so I'll have lots of time with you.
Kazi zimepungua ama kids ama cha kukusumbua.
Babe, please.
Unaniongea vibaya lakini ukiniona mikono ya kuteleza vitu vishikike.
I cannot even breathe that. Hata sijui calling again wala sijui mwamlina.
Sasa mwenzako nikikutuma, angalau upata mtu kuongea naye.
Kwa kuwa mambo uko ndani sina mtu wa kuzungumza naye.
Nani?
Ushauri keti na utaka sasa ni kuhusu kazi zangu, kampuni yangu. Basi.
Montaigne, you have finally shown up.
Tell me, what is your demand?
It's simple.
Jingwu, get His Majesty out of here now. Hurry.
Majesty. Timur. Don't!
Mother! Mother!
以为当归入药汤，相思泪蓄的心头上。捏儿了手在纸上，要淋湿。
Back. We are glad you are still keeping us company. We continue within the headlines, and just to pick it up from where we left it off with Victor, we come to the Daily Nation and look at this particular story. Actually, the main story here on the Daily Nation: Raila's big promise for Mount Kenya voters. Should they vote for him come 2022? So he has made big promises for the estimated 8 million voters in the Mount Kenya region. And with a Bible in his hand and kneeling down yesterday during a church service when he was addressing the congregation, he read Jeremiah 29 verse 11, which says, "For I know the plans I have for you, plans to prosper you, not to harm you, plans to give you a hope and a future." Now, he went on to say that if elected president in the next general elections, he will address the plight of the Mount Kenya farmers by prioritizing value addition to improve earnings from the harvest, and also looking at the youth. He was specific to say that he would also seek to diffuse the ticking time bomb that is the youth by setting up income generating projects for the unemployed youths in this particular region. And of course, saying that, after having reached a working agreement with President Uhuru Kenyatta, who has been termed as a rival turned ally, and this was back in 2018, March, during the handshake. This, of course, was the turning point for him and President Kenyatta to unite the Mount Kenya region and, of course, bring growth and prosperity to this particular bloc, and especially now that he has the backing and the support of President Kenyatta. And of course, this is all pegged on whether or not the Mount Kenya region is going to vote for him. The promises have started, guys.
Yeah.
And
they will come.
Former Premier was very smart with quoting this particular Bible verse, Jeremiah 29 verse 11, "For I know the plans I have for you, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you a hope and a future." Should you vote for me? Promises have started. Regina, I see how strategic that verse is. I don't know if you guys munasikia uzito.
Yes, I hear that, and I'd want to challenge who is listening to read a little bit further. Jeremiah 33. Yes. It says that call unto me and I'll tell you marvelous and wondrous things that you've never heard before. How will you know that? Well, Jeremiah is quoted as the prophet of hope. So yes. And I want to say this on a very lighter note. We have heard this slogan, tuache kuziana woga. Now this is a change in tact where we're, selling hope. But the question is, have we done civic education for Wanjiku? Because these slogans, these promises, and we have not had enough yet. We are yet to get there. We are going to be promised heaven. Literally, we are going to be promised heaven. But how many will deliver? How many will deliver? What is feasible? What is not? What can we do? What can we not do? What is priority? What is not? Wanjiku needs to know all that. But sad truth, looking at her history, we'll forget all that
very fast.
We will forget all that and focus on where does this person come from?
Or what can I get right now?
Or what can I get from them? And unfortunately, that we lower the bar every time we go to the polls.
Yes. Right, and on that note, Raila has been told that Raila should change from reggae to benga to win over Mount Kenya voters.
Benga as it may, reggae stopped. Okay, we don't know if it stopped. We don't know if it's the DJ. It's a pause, but that is that. And talking about delivery, the gender rules remain elusive 11 years later. We passed the constitution in 2010. There was a clause about gender representation, but 11 years later, we are still singing the song. Now, analysts have said that lack of political goodwill has seen bills designed to cure the gender parity die in parliament. We all have been witnessing every time that this debate is coming on, and I want to take you up on the recent one where we only had 174 members of parliament present in the house, and only 233 members were required. So we have missed the targets even on representation. What does that say about the lack of political goodwill when it comes to issues of gender parity? The former CJ David Maraga, he issued a threat, so to speak, to dissolve the House if the gender rule was not implemented. But since that threat was issued, nothing has been done. So in as much as we're talking about, I'm going to deliver you, whether it is in canon or I'm going to give you X, Y, Z, what has been done? What is the track record? We need to be alive to the facts and not what we're anticipating. However, the Senate has done well, and then we want to say the Senate has met the requirement by having at least, they have 21 female senators out of the 67 members of the House. Of the 21, 8 are nominated while 3 are selected. We need to do a little bit more when it comes to elective posts of women. And I like the way whenever we're talking about politics and where women are concerned, the male counterparts come out and say, women are enemies of themselves because they have the numbers. As far as the Kenya National Bureau of Statistics is concerned, we have the populace, we have the numbers. But how many of us as women vote for a fellow woman? Victor?
Yeah. The issue of two-third gender rule has been in Parliament for the longest time, we can remember, and we are almost going to the next cycle of elections, and that has not been implemented to this particular point. So we just hope that at some point things will change. Okay, so let's talk about some business, shall we? State to clear number plates backlog in 2 weeks. That's according to Hussein Dado, who is a CAS. There has been that backlog of number plates at the port of entry, that is in Mombasa. And now the CS says that it will take only 2 weeks to clear the backlog. The government is working towards clearing the vehicle registration plates shortage in the country. It has said, giving a timeline of 2 weeks. This must be some good news to the importers and people who have their vehicles still stuck at the port of Mombasa, at the clearance and forwarding farms. This as more vessels continue to call at the port of Mombasa, bringing in cars, which is adding pressure to registration and issuance of number plates. Now, as of last week, there were over 8,000 used cars imported, registered and cleared at the port after paying the requisite taxes, but are yet to be issued with physical plates. Okay, remember you've seen there's this number plate, which is not the legit one. It's legit, yes, but it's not the original that should be issued by the government or by the NTSA. It's meant to clear all vehicles from the port of Mombasa, either to their owners or to different, car bazaars and different destinations. But now that backlog is still, bringing a lot of congestion at the port, and at least 6 more vessels are also expected to dock at the port between tomorrow and September 9th. Regina, in terms of business, you can remember the backlog that is we continue to experience at the port of Mombasa. What do you say about this in terms of business? Because if you have 3 vessels, at least 6 vessels are overseas, still on the high seas and are respected in Mombasa. In terms of business, how is this case going so far, the issue of number plates by the NTSA and the government at the KRA?
Well, talking about business at the ports, we have seen a multi-agency kind of, operation down at the ports. We have KPA as well as KRA and NTSA. Why? Remember, President took issue with the delays and saying that this is one of the reasons that is, holding back businesses, especially locally owned businesses, and said that something needs to be done, or rather efficiency has to be at the clearance of goods at the port. So KPA, KRA, as well as NTSA came up with an agency that is going to help, came to work together to help clearing and forwarding. And what I can say, we've not had much complaints per se. And remember, also government has also tried and decongest the port, and as far as clearance of goods is concerned. Remember, now we have the ICD. We have the ICD here at Nairobi, as well as the other one in Naivasha there. So it has helped ease a few things when it comes to even getting that particular cargo. So I want to say it was a step in the right direction, and those especially who do consolidated. And when I mean consolidated goods, where you import is like you fill a 40-foot container, but you're not the owner of that particular 40-foot container. There's Jane, there's Victor, there's Doreen, there's Martin, there's Fathili. We all know that this container is destined for Kenya. It brings, that is what you call consolidation of goods. And when it comes, it is cheaper for all of us. So this is one of the moves that we have seen. Government just try to support the MSMEs, and actually the container depot is already active at the railway station here in Nairobi, where you walk in, we ordered a 40-foot container, you have your goods, I have my goods, Jane has, we all go pick at our own pace. And that's where you're told to even include a logistics company that is going to do for you logistics as well as deconsolidation of goods, and that is already operation. So I think in as far as making their promises do, I may not have the right numbers, but I've seen a few things work for people I have met, especially traders who work around Nyamakema. We did a spot check beginning of this year and what the deconsolidation depot has done for them at the railways that is operational. But still something needs to be done, especially with the risks of the high seas and such, and also this movement on of goods during COVID times. Remember, at some point there was a talk of having a force majeure to those people who are bringing in such cargo over issues of COVID-19. Remember, this was an unprecedented issue when it came to COVID-19 and affected maritime business as it is. But I think we are getting back on track. And talking about getting back on track, Kenyans should brace for high cost of power. Why? This is because when COVID-19 struck globally and also here in the country 1 year on in March, there was a decline, or rather the dip in consumption of power. But now it seems that the uptake is up and Kenya Power has to buy more power from thermal producers. Thermal power is more expensive than any other form of power. So as we continue getting back to where we were in as far as the economy is concerned, things are bound to get thick. Remember, you can get further details on our website and also look at what the Kenya KNBS has to say in regard to where we stand as far as consumption of power is concerned. Remember, the majority of the Kenya members, actually manufacturers, have been saying that the aspect of cost of power is what has made cost of production high, and they always pass this back to you and I, to consumers. So we need to brace. Actually, there's a whole report here in the Standard that says that in the electricity, we are yet to reach the 2019 levels where electricity was sold, or rather was sold at 749 million kilowatts per hour to Kenya Power over the first half year. That is according to KNBS. Now, as it stands, we have consumed, let me see, according to the National Bureau of Statistics, the amount of thermal power consumed over the first half year of this year has increased to 503 million units, that is kilowatt hours. That is a 58% growth from 317 million units that were used over a similar period in 2020. So if you're wondering why the fuel or rather power consumption is adjusting upwards, well, we are consuming more, and the role of Kenya Power is not to generate power but to distribute power, so it has to buy from someone. And now they have opened up their bank, or rather their account, with thermal power producers. So it's bound to get a little bit heavy.
Yeah. And you know, speaking of KPLC, you know, when you buy your tokens, they usually break down for you how much was used on taxes, on this levies here and there, and the actual amount that has gone towards purchasing those units. And even for postpaid customers, they're now moving to, they're called smart meters, where they are doing away with the old meters and now installing new meters that you can actually also using you can use the app that they actually put up, or you can go online to check your usage, understand how many units you used in a month, how much 1 kilowatt costs, and you can actually do your own math before they send you the actual reading, so that if there's any error, you're able to pick it up with actual information that they have provided. And I think this is also a step in the right direction in terms of also helping us understand why we're paying so much money when it comes to electricity here in our country.
Yes.
Before tuende kwa hiyo, let me bring you to the People's Daily here, just back on the political note.
Right.
And here, looking at the main story on the front page of the People Daily, the BBI orphans.
Yeah, we remember we talked about this, and by the way, was it last week? But when we talked about this, now the political implication.
Yes, the ripple effect.
The ripple effect
starts to play out.
Most people are looking just toward that particular point that BBI will sail through, and perhaps they were going to benefit from it. But here we are.
Here we are. We are now having second-term governors being referred to as BBI orphans. And now it is back to the drawing board for most of these governors. And actually Mutua was the one who, Governor Mutua, Dr. Alfred Mutua was saying, for those, he's also serving his final term, that some of his colleagues must now make decisions based on the current reality, because many of the second-term governors were supporting the BBI in the hopes of being accommodated with the expanded, the additional seats. Now they are looking, they are just trying to find a way to remain politically afloat, given the BBI is not an alternative for them anymore. And as per the current law, they can only, this is the last term, they cannot vie for another term as governors, and now they have to seek positions or a political lifeboat. And I don't know what you guys think about this situation. The fact that they were only, some of them were only supporting the BBI because of the positions that they hoped to benefit from when it comes to the expanded executive. Some were eyeing the Prime Minister's seat, others were eyeing up some seats in Parliament, and actually some of them openly announced that their intentions were, they opted for parliamentary seats with their eyes on cabinet slots, and of course others had already declared that they will be going for the top job. Now that the BBI is no longer there to favor them, it is back to the drawing board.
It's back to the drawing board, and we have Dr. Rotich here and a panel of our analysts here. We are going to delve much into that, because now, what's now left for them? And in politics, we usually say, it's a cliche statement that anything is possible. Some of them will have, will make a comeback in a way that, in a manner that we may not understand at this particular point.
Ukishakuwa governor, ni wapi utaenda sana if not up?
I would want to remind you a book that the majority have read. I don't know if Victor, you've read this particular book. It was a set book.
Yeah.
And the title was Wale Nisi by Katama C.G. Mkagi. Wale Nisi.
Wale Nisi.
And if I can go back to what my Fasihi teacher was trying to, you know, inculcate when I was reading that particular piece of literature, says there's so many ways to look at Wale Nisi.
Yeah.
Wale ni sisi, to wale, sisi to wale, unaona?
Yeah.
So now when you're looking about, we're talking about politics. The reasons why some people do the things they do is
they'll have to calculate their way back. That is not an issue, by the way.
Ni wakati wetu wa kula. It is our time to eat.
Unakumbuka Chinua Achebe akisema when things fall apart.
And things fall apart.
When things have already fallen apart, where will they hold on to hope? But we just have to wait and see. Lakini ukishakuwa governor, utarudi kuwa MP?
Trust me, we would. We will see that. Everything is possible.
It's very possible.
It is.
Everything
just a wait and see game.
Is possible. And just as they say, there are no permanent enemies or friends in politics.
Yeah.
Anything is possible.
Anything is possible.
Yes.
But some of them will have to accept unplanned retirement.
Even as we talk about politicians trying to make a comeback, what about over 12,000 Form 1s yet to report to school in Kilifi County?
Man, by the coastal region is leading with
12,000
Form 1s that haven't reported to school.
Yes.
And it's really sad.
12,000.
And here we're now hearing a case of another girl being pulled out of school.
17, yes. Get married to a teacher who is 26 years old. You know, Coast Regional Commissioner John Elungata has directed chiefs and their assistants to look for 12,827 Form 1 students who have not reported. 12,827. Now, the secondary school students cannot be accounted for in Kilifi County. In Kilifi County alone. Elungata said that the administrators on Friday to identify all Form 1 students who have not been able to report and assist them. Remember, CS Education, that is Prof. George Magoha, started that door-to-door campaign to flash out all students who have not reported to Form 1. And he said that it was going to be a nationwide activity or action, exercise that was meant to push all those kids who have not reported to school to go to school. So let me just appeal to the parents. This is it. You see that child you're not taking to school right now. At some point in life, later on in life, you will regret why you did not take your child to school. It might be beneficial to you right now that your child is getting married at the age of 26, at the age of 16, 17, or even 18, because of that thing that you need to benefit from right now. But at some point in life, it will have to bite you. So it will catch up with you.
I agree, Victor, but let me catch up with you because let me be a devil's advocate in regard to this matter. When we talk about 100%, transition to Form 1. Looking, for example, let's talk about Kilifi. The poverty index. Look at the poverty index, and some of these parents who let their children get married at an early age say that this is the only way to ensure their children's survival, that they cannot afford to pay the school fees, they cannot afford to feed these children because they're feeding their younger siblings. So when government says that it wants to realize 100% transition from primary school to secondary school, I think we need to do better. Whether it's rolling out a program away from the bursary, because actual figures on ground is that some of these monies do not reach the needy families. And that is a fact. It has been proven. We have carried stories on all media platforms. Yes, something needs to be done because Kilifi in itself, the poverty index speaks volumes. So you're appealing to these parents to take their children to school. With what? They can barely feed them. And I'm not advocating for children staying home, but I think we need to tackle the issue. We need to tackle the issue, and the issue is poverty. What can we do to empower these communities that they can provide for their children and themselves? Then we're bound to see a change. But if we say we're pushing this 1,200 students who are yet to report to high school, they report. How do they get there? The government, Regina, you might play the devil's advocate, but the government will not take that. All kids, according to the Minister of Education, says, it's been subsidized, and according to CS Magoha, all kids must go to school, whichever way. When you talk of, some of the parents are not able to pay their school fees, they're not able to cater for their needs in school, the government will pin certain parents. In fact, they will come out saying that, we have subsidized the school fees. But when you have this number, 12,000, and if you look at this, actually it's 63%, that's coast region. That's a big number.
Here they've also highlighted Kajiado, where there is some 3,000 students who are yet to join Form 1. And most of these are said to be children who are from villages within the Kajiado County that have failed to go to school, the rural villages.
And I think it has to be something that is supposed to be highlighted. The way we give politics that limelight, those kids, we should also be given that limelight to take them to school. Because now when you talk about chiefs moving around the villages, pushing kids to go to school, it should be a responsibility. At Form 1, your life is just starting to shape up pretty well. So if you are a parent, you're a guardian, you're a student watching this program right now, your future is in school. Your future is in school. Go to school. People have, go and plead your case there. Go and plead your case. Regina, did you see a situation where some students way back in school never used to go back home during closing? They say, "Mi naenda wapi? I just want to stay here." And they'll be given accommodation in school. You have maybe a chef or two. You remain in school. If you're not able, the school would accommodate them and would cater for them because they listen to such people. Those are the kids that, later on in life, when you remember where you come from, you'll come out to be a successful person.
Agreed. Okay. I went to school with some, and anytime we were packing to leave, they were actually carrying the books to class. and you wonder like you don't want to go home.
Yeah, me seeing nyumbani, where you
told me going back home for you to take hours to arrive home.
Yeah.
For me, it will take up to 5 days to get home. And another 5 days to come back.
To travel back home.
And even where does that money come from? I'm barely here. I am barely here.
Yeah.
I am barely having this uniform. I'm barely, surviving. So I'd rather be in school. And I can't remember if that particular girl ever went home since arriving in Form 1. I never saw Fozia, I remember her name, go home. I never. We always found her in school from day one. Actually, she arrived a week after Form 1.
That place, yeah.
Yes.
Some never went back home.
Yes.
Some never went back home. All right, so parents, please just do your due diligence and take kids to school. It will be good for us, for the nation tomorrow. All right, Jen.
Let's come to the Daily Nation and look at this particular piece here. I don't know if it has been featured on your papers, but Health CS tells health workers give talks a chance. Now, Cabinet Secretary Mutahi Kagwe has urged health workers to engage the devolved governments in talks instead of going on strike, and especially now amid this pandemic, we're trying to roll out the whole inoculation process. And of course, there are some countries, by the way, that have been reporting that they are already experiencing shortages of this particular jab. Trans-Nzoia is one of the countries that has been highlighted. But now he told the workers to be patient as negotiations over pay continue. He also singled out health workers in Nyanza, saying that talks to improve their welfare are on. We did see them done their tools a while back. And he was specific to Kisumu, Migori, Homa Bay, and Siaya, who have already issued the strike notices. And he said that Kenya is hoping to achieve the target of vaccinating more than 10 million people by the end of this year. And this will not be possible should they choose to down their tools, and especially so over the talks about their pay.
Yeah.
I don't know if that story has been featured on your papers, but he just urges health workers to allow the conversations, the talks, to be given an opportunity to see if they can come to a middle ground and understanding before they down their tools.
Yeah.
And especially so amid this inoculation process and this pandemic.
Yeah, I think that's as far as health is concerned. But still, just to tie this story to that as well, MTRH pipes oxygen to 1,000 beds to improve emergency services. Good one. I think MTRH, makofi kwenu, that's a good one. At a time when the country is still grappling with, shortage of oxygen tanks in different hospitals across the country. And MTRH, the Moi Teaching and Referral Hospital in Eldoret, has completed piping of oxygen to its 1,000 beds to improve emergency services. So which means every bed in that hospital has an oxygen pipe already piped to that particular bed. So it's easier. CEO Dr. Wilson Arwasa said that the move was to ensure all admitted patients receive high quality services, including those suffering from COVID-19. And by the way, this might not be the case of COVID-19 alone. Some go to the hospital because of other ailments, pneumonia, where you have breathing complications, and it's going to improve the cases of COVID-19 and recovery to the affected patients there. Okay, at this point, Jen?
We want to bring this particular segment to a close, but of course you can go ahead and grab the copy that best resonates with you. We do hope we have better positioned you to know which one that is going to be, but we want to get started with the discussions that we have lined up for you. But keep talking to us, check in, let us know how you're enjoying these discussions, and of course you can share your thoughts as we continue with this particular programming. Use the hashtag Good Morning Kenya on Twitter, at KBC Channel 1 is the official station handle, and do remember to tag us individually at Ray Manyara, at Victor Olo, and at Jane Mamboy. Stay with us, we'll be right back.
amarte de una forma diferente, de otro modo.
You told Celia that you would take care of that when she was about to leave them here. Right here. Here. Here.
It's because I don't feel right, Nora. I don't feel fine. I'm so sad. I'm so scared for Max's future, for mine, for my babies.
I guess. It seems like they're all after the same thing, but I really feel that they have very different reasons.
We're siblings. You're my sister.
My brother? You're my brother?
Vamos, recobremos los momentos de una forma diferente, de otro modo, nunca igual al de otra gente, respetando tus espacios.
Kupata Mtumaini Mungu kama skiza tune, bonyeza *811 *815#.
Mtumaini Mwenyezi Mungu kwa moyo wako wote, wala usitegemee akili zako mwenyewe. Umtambue Mungu katika kila ufanyalo, naye atazinyosha njia zako. Usijione wewe mwenyewe kuwa mwenye hekima. Mche Mwenyezi Mungu na kujiepusha na uovu. Methali 3:5-7.
Kupata Mtumaini Mungu kama skiza tune, bonyeza *811 *815#, *811 *815#.
Grow. And with me, I am with Dr. Rotich, who is joining me in studio here. Daktari, good morning.
Morning, Olo.
Karibu sana.
Nice this morning.
Yes.
How was the weekend?
The weekend was fantastic. We appreciate it. Absolutely,
God.
absolutely.
Thank God for
And remember, we'll also be joined by Wakili, who is going to be joining us via Zoom. As soon as we get him, we'll let him join this conversation. But just to start the conversation straight away, Daktari, a lot happened over the weekend, and it seems that the president has now agreed to let Tuju and Murathe as completely put on the front page of the Star. So look at that. Perhaps the pressure has now mounted. The question is, why? Why did it have to take that long?
I think as far as the party progress or progression is concerned, we have come a long way with this great men, Tuju and Murathe.
Yes.
And you know, the performance of Jubilee over the years now has been their contribution.
Yeah.
And whether the performance was very poor, whether it has really progressed, actually depends entirely on the two. Because majority of those people who have left the party, per se, because they have not resigned the parties, because we have at the moment a law, those who have decamped by just word but not action, those who have come to Kieleweke, those who have come to the Tanga group. So all these people have a say. I mean, the two people, I mean Murathe and Tuju, have a big say in all these progresses that have actually taken place over the years. So as you say that the president has actually stayed put with that, I think it is as a result, because when you look at it, between now and the election, making an overhaul change in the party could be very necessary, but some changes are also very drastic changes. Some drastic changes can be very dangerous to the party, especially towards the time when more experienced people actually needed to drive the party towards the successful election. And it is like saying this, Law, you can remember about those who were clamoring that we have to change the IEPC. And some are saying that with the experience that the IEPC, those who are in position, that it will be very, very, very dangerous to change all of a sudden, because election is just around the corner. And changing that may actually pronounce catastrophic change, consequences. So in this case, when I look at the party itself, Jubilee, and looking also the time frame between now and the election,
actually is more of the timeline now.
Of course, it is, and making such drastic changes may result in the worst consequences to the party itself. So in this case, I think they have to remain focused, they have to remain themselves, and they have to also look at the interest of the party more than anything else.
Yes, but in terms of timing, that's the question, because it's been long coming. Remember, they said that at some point they were called in State House, they were given a riot act. Some of the estranged members of the Jubilee Party who left the party said they have never had any parliamentary group meeting of the Jubilee Party.
And I think, let me tell you, Olo, look, you don't need to do a lot of studies to know what has really affected Jubilee negatively. They have lost a lot of by-elections.
Yes.
And even before then, they have removed a number of members, especially when after 2018 handshake, it resulted in a number of changes, not only in the outward organs of these individual parties, but also even in the management of Jubilee itself as a party itself. Because having many of their members removed, replaced by those from the ODM, that in itself has impacted the Jubilee very negatively. And not only that, even at the moment when they are now focusing to do an election, most of the members have no longer having the goodwill to the leadership of the party itself. So in this case, they have to sit down, they have to put their house in order before the coming election actually. Because between now and the election, hardly 10 months.
Yes.
So in this case, reforming the party, yes, it is necessary.
But what are some of the notable changes that would likely to see during this transition period? Because they've been given 2 weeks to come up with probable names and perhaps people who can, replace, that is Honorable Tuji and Honorable Murad.
Let me tell you, with the focus of the two gentlemen, and there has been a lot of complaints among the party stalwarts, especially those who have left to either Kieleweke or those who are in the Tanga team. Their claims have been centered on the two gentlemen. So in this case, it is like the progress of the party has not been able to proceed or continue because there is a roadblock. There are those leaders whom they are perceived that they are the people who contributed to the downfall of the party itself. So in this case, changing the leadership may be very necessary, and it may be long overdue in this case, because for the party to win, it depends entirely on the goodwill of the people, the goodwill of the members. So if the goodwill is already lost, and then you can never stand or have confidence of your own members. So in this case, it is very important that this the party itself must have an overhaul, soul searching within the party organs, the Jubilee itself, so that they can be able to bring on board those people whom the majority of the Kenyans have a lot of confidence. And it is only when Kenyans look at the party with confidence. Let me tell you, now the most important part of it is the nomination part during the party makeup. When they will be nominating now, those who will be contesting for before the real election. So nomination has always been the real focus, because much of the corruption has been done within that time of nomination. So the people must have the party at heart. They must have a lot of confidence. They must have a lot of security in their own party. So in this case, changing leadership is actually key in any progressive party. So in this case, I'm not surprised to see what I'm seeing in Jubilee, because it is out of this that they can be able to reform their party and come up with the kind of leadership that it will bring. The party is about bringing, a party who will be focused on bringing the people. What forms the party is the people themselves. It is the membership. So if the majority of those members who are inside and say, we don't have any confidence in these fellas, and then the best thing is for them to float. Who do they want? Then from there, you build the confidence that is already lost. So I mean, I totally agree with what's happening in the Jubilee setup. Let them have their own way, the way they have to manage their own party. And let me tell you, Lord, when you talk about the party and the members, so the membership is the one that manages the party.
Yes,
it is the goodwill of the members that makes the party a formidable party. Look at the ODM. The one's very formidable party. I mean, when they came up with NASA, a coalition of so many characters. And in this case, the party was so strong. And because of mistrust, recently, some of them have gone out, dismembering the party. The original stock party, which was so powerful, is now being wrecked from within, having individual parties dividing themselves. So the very strength that they used to have, they no longer have. So in this case, even if they are eyeing to win the 2022 election, without that coalition, it is actually a pipe dream. They have to look at it afresh. They have to come together. They have to look at they have to remain focused to the 2022 election. If they need any presidential position come 2022, they must reorganize themselves.
Doctor, when you look at the head or the mind of the president, what do you think, or why do you think the president now just decided and say, you know what, we can have a sit down, we can have a restructure, something that, as you've said, perhaps is now long overdue?
It is long overdue, Lord, because they have seen this party falling all this time long. 3 years down the line, we have seen people exiting in the name, or exiting in the name, because most of these people, no one has ever decamped the party. Yes, despite the fact that they have allied themselves with these other parties, the UDA, whatever, all these parties have just mushrooming up. So in this case, it is only when all these things happen that it now became real. Because His Excellency the President is the chairman, is the party head.
The leader, yes.
Yeah, he's the leader of the party. And in itself, he cannot sit and watch the party actually deteriorating to its final oblivion. And he has, and let me tell you, the president is here today and he will be there tomorrow. He wants to leave behind a legacy that will be a great legacy for this country. And in this case, and the only way to to oversee even the changes, he has to oversee under some party. He has to have a party, that is Jubilee Party. So reforming the party, according to him, is a priority number one. Yes, we can say it is long overdue, but it is better late than never, because this is the time that he can do. And of course, most of the coalition, if you could trace back to our history, they are older than about hardly 6 months. So we have about 10 months or 11 months to the election. And in this case, reforming the party is not long. I mean, yes, it is long overdue, but it is not very late. Within a period of 7-8 months, if the party will get organized, they will win back those people who had actually left because of the leadership of the two gentlemen at the above. So in this case, once the party has been reformed and the kind of leadership that people will have a lot of trust, I believe the people will come back, those who are members of the Jubilee, they may even decide to retain back. Because let me tell you, the parties that have come up, Moses Kuria, there's another one,
Service Party.
So in this case, most of the people will actually, they would prefer remaining in the party itself, Jubilee, than forming actually, or rather joining new parties. So in this case, the kind of steps that His Excellency the President is actually doing to reform the party is actually highly recommendable, and it is actually good for the party itself.
When you look at what's happening politically right now, Jubilee Party is said to be having talks with ODM to have a coalition ahead of 2022. So you'd imagine that going to a Jubilee Party having a coalition agreement with ODM, and yet they have not put the house in order. Perhaps that would have created a lot of turbulence during the coalition making process.
You see, there is not like confusion. Let me tell you, politics, there are a lot of confusion in politics, always. Because of the competing interest of so many people and parties also. So there is no day. I mean, when you look at politics, I normally equate politics with the Matatu sector. It is a very disorganized sector, and you try to bring it organized, but because of the varying interest that is in the sector, of course, you may not have that kind of coming together. So even in politics, look at now Jubilee, they want to organize their party, And of course, with all the mind, Jubilee knows that it cannot win alone. It has to have a coalition with another party, a strong party. And in this case, after the handshake 2018, I mean, Right Honorable Raila Odinga and His Excellency the President, who is actually the leader of the Jubilee, if they can think and to come up with a coalition before 2022, I think it is a healthy thing. And so to not only that, Bwana Olo, we also have other parties. We have the ANC party, which is eyeing for coalition. Now they are coming up with Oka. So Oka, coming up together of Kalonzo Musyoka, Gideon Moi, Musalia Mudavadi, Wetangula, all these people are now coming up to form Oka, the One Kenya Alliance. So in this case, even One Kenya Alliance would require to come to coalition with other parties. So in this case, they are also looking out for the probable partners. In fact, I was thinking that very soon Oka will really go back to the same coalition with the ODM. But somehow it seems Mudavadi is actually sticking to his gun that they want to go on their own, and that they are eyeing for the presidency. And yesterday all of them were in Mount Kenya. Right Honorable Raila was in Murang'a, and then Mudavadi was in Kiambu, and Ruto was in Nakuru. All these things were happening yesterday. So in this case, it means that now they are now focused on looking for votes. And then maybe even as the individual parties organize themselves, like the Jubilee, as the parties organize themselves, like UDA, as the parties organize themselves, like the ODM. So all these parties would require one another. In the end, when we shall be about maybe 6 to 5 months to the election, most of them will begin to reason. They will begin to sober up, because now they will know that yes, if I don't have a coalition, with so and so, I may not because coalition actually is a method that they have defined to win. They cannot win. Any single party, cannot win without a coalition. And that is why I'm foreseeing that all these parties will finally agree to form coalition in one way or another. There will be those who will be coaliting between them, like ODM, maybe Jubilee Party. There will be those who will be in UDA. There will be those who will be in Oka. All these things will finally come together.
When you talk of now Jubilee Party as it is right now, are we likely to see a more rejuvenated and more energized Jubilee Party? Because most of these political parties get their strength towards the last moment of the political cycle. 6 months to go, 7 months to go. When you look at the way NAC was formed, 6 months to the election, and that's what propelled Honorable Mwai Kibaki to presidency. Are we likely to see a more re-energized Jubilee Party moving forward with all these changes that we expect to witness?
I tell you, Olo, disparate moments requires disparate solutions. You can remember when Raila said Kibaki Tosha. It was after bringing up with the Kano. So in this case, he had no other place to run to. What he did was just to declare the other one so that they can form the government. So in this case, as we near towards the election, some stubbornness will prevail, and parties will come to coalition. So in this case, I think Jubilee will be struggling to recreate its image, because Jubilee now it has to feel its own image afresh, because much of what has happened has actually disappointed so many people, such that people lost the trust in the party itself. And that trust which is lost, they must actually fight to recover. They must create a positive image towards the party. People must feel secure when they're in that party in future. So the focus that those who will be taking over the positions in this party they should mainly focus not only in coalition, not only in actually bringing people to change the party, but they should also struggle to build the image that's already dated. Because once your members actually trust you, it is only when they are secure that they can support you. So the parties must be a place to run to. They must be safe. So in this case, as we go ahead, I'm not foreseeing a strong position whereby these individual parties will undertake and say that I will not form a coalition with so-and-so, I will not form a coalition with so-and-so. What they are now doing, they are solidifying their position to be able to have a better bargaining power. Because when you have more members, when you have more support from the ground, other small parties will come to you. They will end up in you because what they want is to use your wings to propel themselves to the 2022, to form the government. Absolutely. So in this case, forming the 2022 government is actually the main focus. It is the main call. And in this case, when you look at all these parties now, the parties that are now emerging, we have now about, say, 3 parties. I can call Oka one party, and even though it is a coalition. Because when you talk about Musalia Mudavadi, Kalonzo Musyoka and all these other, they are now forming up. I can call that one a party. Be it Wiper, ANC is inside and all this and that. I can see that as one party. Now when you go to the ODM, ODM now is focused to bring more members on board, be it in Mount Kenya, be it in other places, and they are a formidable party because they have a history. So in any case, ODM is not so much about building the image because yes, they have the image. They had the mistrust with those other characters, but they can easily come together. Let me tell you, all friends can easily come together than even those ones, the new ones. So in this case, I'm foreseeing a situation whereby even ODM and the rest of Oka may actually form up a coalition to form, to form a formidable party that will win into 2022.
Okay. Let me bring in Wakili Ken Amondi here. Wakili, good morning and good to see you. He's joining us via Zoom. There you have him. Wakili, good morning and good to see you.
Morning, how are you?
We're doing fantastic. We are fantastic here in studio. Dr. Teach says that you should
you are late to the meeting. You're late to the meeting. I'm sorry.
No problem. We are talking about the Jubilee Party has now. The president had a meeting over the weekend on Friday with members predominantly from the Keleweke side, and now the president said that in 2 weeks' time they should go back and give probable names of those people who will replace Honorable Tuju and Honorable Murade. The question now that we are asking ourselves, it's long overdue. Wakili.
It's true when you say that at this particular time and approaching the general elections, then this is the time when parties are now positioning themselves. Of course, I've been following the discussion, and it is true that in Kenya we need, or rather you need a coalition to be in a position to form the government.
Yes.
That when it comes to position within such coalition arrangements, it's all about the numbers. And so to that extent...
All right. Okay, Wakili, we are trying to connect back to you briefly. Just hold on there as we organize that audio bit, and we'll be back with you briefly. Doctor, just to join where he's saying that, it's an election time, and we are likely to see more friends coming together, pre-election pact and post-election pacts. Is this what we should expect, what we ought to have expected from Jubilee from the word go?
I think, looking by the events as they are unfolding, 3 months from where we are seated today, we are going to see a lot of coalition or friends coming together or parties coming together. Because, I saw some statistics, not even some statistics, some ratings about the position of His Excellency the Deputy President as of now. And they are rating that it is, Deputy President in his popularity is over 60%. And 60% in this case, what they are now saying is that, like yesterday, Macharia told Raila in one of when they were in the church that we are telling you that things may not be very easy because already if election will be done today, His Excellency the Deputy President will take the lead. And that is what he confessed. And then when Kanini Kega also stood up and he said that you have to campaign, we have to do a more extra job because this popularity, the poison that has been, they call it poison. The popularity of His Excellency the Deputy President, Kanini Kega Naita, they have actually poisoned the people. But of course that is politics. So in this case, what we can safely say as of now, even though they are saying that according to the ratings about 60%, I perceived His Excellency the Deputy President is about 80% now, to be very candid. And catching up with him. You remember last week, Olo, when I told you that even as things are unfolding, politics will not change. Politics in Kenya, we started immediately after 2017.
Yeah.
And all this time we've been politicking. So in this case, to say that things may change so much, I am not foreseeing that. What I can only see, there will be coalitions. But these coalitions may not do anything much because you are talking of the same numbers. Unless if Raila would be able to marshal the support from his original basis in all these places, yes, you'll have a say. But as it is, as things are prevailing on the ground now, you look at the deputy president. He's not eyeing so much about the coalition, but he's eyeing so much about the common man. And in this case, going to the ground, and even that's why Macharia was saying, if the election is done today, he is eyeing, because the political terrain this time, is not determined by those people above the hierarchies. It is determined by the small one on the ground. You get the people on the ground, they are saying, no, we are not following that thing. And that is why politics of this time is very complicated. You cannot compare the politics of today and maybe the politics of the years. In this case, the man on the ground, these small people on the ground, are the people who are going to determine the leadership come 2022. And that is why this hustler narrative is actually buying so much in most of the places. And of course, they will have to do a lot of, those who are opposing His Excellency the Deputy President will have to do a lot of damaging to reach where he is. Otherwise, it is a tall order.
It's a tall order. Now, just to wind out on that particular point, the President has been quite so quiet on the Jubilee Party restructure, but now ceding ground. At what particular point are we likely to see the President now coming out fiercely as a party leader of Jubilee? Because when they're going to have that pact with another party, then it means that the party leader himself must also come out so strongly and give the face of the party. Are we likely to see that? And at what particular point?
If you look at what His Excellency said during the meeting with the Mount Kenya people, and he did actually express that he's not going to support any individual. I mean, I don't know. Now, when the President said he's not going to support any individual among the members of Parliament, and these are his own people, he's not going to campaign for them. So in this case, at what level is he going to campaign for the party? Somehow, what I'm seeing in the back, what I'm really seeing in his mind is that he wants to have a peaceful exit. He wants to have a peaceful, because in future, because you remember during his interview, he said that he's not the one who is going to give people, the positions. But what he has been doing, he has been, committing himself most of his time to fulfilling the pledges that he made to the people of Kenya. That is what His Excellency has been really explaining in most of the forums that he has actually spoken. And what he's saying is that since he is not in his, it is not in his capacity to give to anybody a vote, it means he may actually likely to have these people ask for their own votes. That is why Raila has gone to Mount Kenya, Ruto has gone also elsewhere, Mudavadi and all these other people. They are seeking for. So I'm not foreseeing a situation whereby he will come in a very strong way, playing politics actively. He may decide to go passive and then concentrate on his own agendas until he can finalize his term. And I'm not foreseeing that thing.
Now, for those people who already decamped from the Jubilee Party, and with all these changes happening, with all the coalitions happening, perhaps in your own estimation, do you see some people trooping back to Jubilee Party? You see, in Kenyan politics, the people are aligning not to parties. They are aligning to the individuals who are in their positions. Right.
People look at Raila, people look at the Deputy President Ruto, people look at Mudavadi, people look at all these contestants. So most of them, they are actually behind their preferred candidates, not necessarily the parties. Kenyans can vote through any party. They don't, like those now who have decamped who are actually in a UDA. I don't foresee a situation where they will come back to the Jubilee and say it is a home. Because they are identifying themselves with their candidate. And in this case of law, what is going to happen in the days to come, people will be looking at the possible winners come the 2022 elections. People would wish to align themselves with the possible winners, especially among the presidential candidates. So in this case, parties may not really matter much as we go along. They will have to see who will win, who is likely to win. They come to 2022 election among these presidential, and they ally themselves with them. And of course, politics is about the interest. Like now, those people who are within those who are in Mount Kenya, majority of them have been eyeing that His Excellency the President was going to campaign for them. But after the meeting that they had, it is now very clear that everyone for himself, God is God for us all.
Yes.
So they'll be fighting for their own feet. So whichever party that they will ally themselves to, it doesn't matter so much. What matters is that who is ready to campaign for them. If the Deputy President will say, I'm going to Mount Kenya and I will campaign for some few individuals, he will have to get that kind of constituency that they're actually supporting him. So in this case, it is a scenario that we are actually, foreseeing coming ahead.
Okay. Dr. Let's leave that. The question is, we've seen Honorable Raila Odinga making numerous trips to Mount Kenya. For the last 1 month or so, some people would say that he's facing the mountain, quite literally.
Hey, Right Honorable Raila Odinga. So there was a perception that was in many of the minds that Raila was not welcome in Mount Kenya. But that was never, that was not true. And when Raila made his inroads to Mount Kenya, he realizes that kumbe there are friends there. There are people there who are actually, it's actually a fertile ground.
Yeah.
So in this case, because he wants to inherit the president come 2022, there is no way he can miss to go to Mount Kenya. But you see, the most unfortunate thing is that Ruto started this campaign long time ago.
Yeah.
To me, Ruto is already at the top of Mount Kenya. And Raila is climbing. That is how I can say, because he's the one welcoming. Ruto is the one welcoming. So how many votes Raila will pick in Mount Kenya remains to be seen, because politics is so dynamic, and you cannot say I've won until you get the votes.
His focus on Mount Kenya of late tells a lot. When you see that he's focused more so to the voters in Mount Kenya, perhaps somebody would say that he's trying to undo what Deputy President William Ruto has done, or already done at the mountain. How is it going to be so easy?
There is nothing called easy, Olo. I told you, and I've been telling you, that there is nothing much that can change now. The percentage that is already growing, it will not change much. It can only tilt down or up. Depending on how vigorous you are in making the campaign. Because now Raila banking inroads, there is a percentage that Raila needs from Central. He may not need 100%, and that is politics. He may be only requiring for 30% to win. And in this case, we cannot say he will not get. He will get. But how? The inside thing that we don't know is that in his own calculation, what percentage of the Central, Mount Kenya people does he need to fill his quorum? So that is what we cannot tell. But what we can safely say as of now is that Mount Kenya is a rich hunting ground for politics, for votes in this time. So nobody who is actually aspiring for 2022 presidential seat can avoid Mount Kenya.
All right, let me now bring Wakili now. Wakili Ken Amondi. Welcome back. Wakili, we have just moved slightly ahead. But before we took a break, before we went off air briefly, that issue of the Jubilee Party restructuring right now, you are making a point on that. Wakili, perhaps if you can just pick it from where you left.
Like I did indicate, as we approach the next general election, of course, with the current trend in Kenyan politics, you cannot win the presidency without a strong coalition. Secondly, in as much as there is the attempt by the deputy president to secure numbers, based on what I can call the hustler narrative. But the fact of the matter from a practical perspective is that Kenyan politics basically revolves around regions. And regions ordinarily tally or move or gravitate around particular political kingpins in respect to their political parties. So it is to that extent that we now see the president, courtesy and using his Jubilee party, wants to revive his base and then channel that base towards a political direction that he believes will best serve the interest of the Mount Kenya region. So that going forward, I honestly want to believe that we should expect some fireworks. We should expect to see, a re-energized Jubilee party we recall that in that meeting, the members of parliament and were given directions to move to the grassroots. Let us not forget, and I think that is very important, that in this country, people follow directions of their leaders, and that is the reason as to why the deputy president has had what can be said to be some very useful inroads within the Mount Kenya region, based on the fact that there is that perception, and which is actually the truth, that as per the results of the last general elections, a good number of parliamentarians apparently were persons who gravitated around the deputy president. So that it is that narrative that I want to believe the president's team now want to take, taking the bull by the horns in the ground and moving to the grassroots, so that we should expect within the foreseeable future, strong inroads by the president, and most probably we should also expect, the same directed upon the person that in the end of the day, the president shall, for that matter, endorse as his preferred successor in the presidential elections 2022.
All right. And now we are with Daktari says that nothing is much likely to change as far as the party is concerned. But then now we cannot wish away the fact that the president is still the head of the Jubilee Party. And from your own perspective, are we likely to see the president now saying, I'm going now out, I'm the boss of this particular party, and I must make sure that my party is up and stable? What are we likely to see, Wakili?
I think within, I can take a preview from the successions that we've had. That is from the times of President Daniel Arap Moi. President Moi, we know, was a strong president, a person who had a hold on the ground. And that was manifest even when he was leaving, and when he felt that he had to chaperone his succession. And for that matter, he did introduce Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta. Next, we had President Mwai Kibaki. Of course, Kibaki was ordinarily the laid-back gentleman. He really was not so much concerned about who takes over from him, and so that there was what can be said to have been a free-for-all race, succeeding him. However, when it comes to President Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta, we are seeing a president that we know also has got some significant hold within the Mount Kenya region. We see a president who, to some extent, I want to believe, would not just want to let his hold go, even post 2022. And so I foresee a president who will be keen to, shape the direction of the Mount Kenya region, and what better way to do that other than by ensuring that the party, or rather his party, is revitalized in the ground, to see that, the networks are made stronger, so that then this party shall begin effectively, in the power tables come 2022. So that going forward, I see a scenario where the president shall play a critical role in who shall be his successor. And I think he has made that clear. The president has said that he wants to see a leadership post 2022 that should, develop on the gains that he has so far put in place, that is right from 2013 up to date. And to ensure that, of course, the president must take a strong hand in chaperoning the direction of his succession.
All right. Wakili. Just at that particular point, because the time factor, even as that is happening, the question of getting a running mate is becoming a bit of a challenge right now. Perhaps most of the politicians are now holding that secret card to their chest. Daktari, we have got so many people who have declared their interest to run for the top seat in the land, but we've not seen them expose their running mates.
I think, although you have to know that a running mate should be somebody who will come in with votes. Because that is part of the coalition.
And
in fact, the first coalition that one have is a coalition whereby he has to have a running mate from a populist party. I mean a majority party. In this case, what you want to do, when you are actually bringing in your candidate, he must have, he must be coming from a very strong background. Of course, that may not be necessarily the case, but in this case, the 2022 election, going by it, and that is why somebody was suggesting that all these candidates may actually end up having the running mates from Mount Kenya region, just to have it as a bait to bring on board Mount Kenya to feel that they are in the next government because they have one of their own being the deputy president. So in this case, such is a possibility. Looking at the background of somebody, looking at the maturity, the support that he has, and of course somebody who has a name in the community itself, because you don't just go for anybody. You go for that person whom, according to the opinions of majority of those, where the backyard where this probable candidate is actually coming from, he has to be somebody with a proven record of support from his own people. So that is why it is very difficult. Getting that person is very difficult. But of course, I don't believe, maybe they don't want to export it now because they are keeping it as a chessboard, whereby they are keeping within themselves. If you ask William Ruto today, whom would you prefer to be your running mate, or rather, who would deputize you? He would tell you so and so, but it is too early for one to mention that. It is too early for one to mention. So to Raila, Right Honorable Raila, so to... In fact, I was seeing yesterday, another gentleman who is coming up very strongly is Chimi Wanjiki. I saw him being interviewed last night at the Citizen. And I looked at him and I see a very energetic gentleman.
But the question is now, all this is happening, and most of these politicians, even you are eligible Kenyan to vie for any particular seat.
I don't know.
But let me just bring in you, Akili. Does it mean that having a running mate is now the determining factor here on who is going to clinch that particular seat come 2022?
Let me say that given the current constitutional dispensation, and more so given the position of the BBI initiative, it means that in all likelihood we are going to the next election with the positions of president and deputy president being the major positions within the executive structure. And to that extent, whoever shall be, taking the deputy president position shall be key in terms of determining who shall win the presidential election. And let me also say, and I want to agree with the panelists, that it's all about the numbers. It's all about your capability. In fact, in most instances, it's not even about the chemistry. It's about the numbers that you will bring to ensure that in the end of the day, we win the election. And that is across the board. Name it in any country. The other day, I was just looking at the interesting 1960 ticket between Kennedy and Johnson that won the American presidency. These were two people whose chemistry did not match whatsoever. But it was a magnet for purposes of winning the election because Johnson had the numbers. That is where we are finding ourselves in 2022. So that I want to honestly believe that the candidates will be playing their cards, under the chest. It will need some very good calculation. Like the Daktari has indicated, the Mount Kenya region, because for the first time under the multi-party democracy, will come up as most probably a battleground zone. Then there is a high chance that, a running mate from Mount Kenya region might prove the most tangible for the serious presidential candidates. Of course, we are seeing so many formidable characters coming from the region, like Daktari has said, and for so many witnessed Jimmy Wanjigi yesterday, at Citizen. that is a failure to watch. So that I also want to say and confirm that and approaching 2022, the choice of who shall be the running mate shall be a co-determinant as to who shall be the next president of Kenya.
So, it means that position of being a deputy president is a lucrative kind of a position, because we are coming with numbers. Perhaps that's why we see most of the deputy presidents having a say and a voice in any government.
You see, when you talk about running mate, it must be somebody who is equal to the task, because that man can be the president. In the event that an eventuality of death arises to the head of state, the person who will take over is the deputy president. So in this case, he has to be equal to the task. It is not just a person. He's somebody who must be very capable of actually handling that position. And in this case, when you look at it again, you also look at the person who will actually deputize. Look at the future, like the DP. When they came up with Uhuru Kenyatta, that is why His Excellency the President once said that Ruto Kumi, Yangu Kumi. During those days when they were very close, and in this case, everything was backed on. You now, me next time. So these are people who are equal to be anything, equal to be the president, equal to be the deputy president, and afterwards being the president. I mean, in fact, they were grooming, and I was seeing a period of about 20 years. Whereby the two leaders were going to work together. Unfortunately, in politics, there are no permanent friends and there are no permanent enemies. Because what's happening now, it is just the opposite. Because the two great leaders were opposed to Right Honorable Raila. Now the Raila Odinga and the head of state are coming together. So in this case, you can never tell what is going to happen. But as per what is actually coming up, Kenya is a very interesting country. It is a very interesting country because drastic changes do happen every day. And you may not really tell what is going to happen in 2022. Maybe what we are highly hoping that it will be this. It may change to be another thing. But depending on the cards, how these guys are actually playing their own cards, 2022 will be a little bit tricky. It will be, for one to get 50 plus 1, it is going to be very difficult.
Wakili, just to bring you quickly, are we likely to see any political shocker?
Although one interesting thing about the Kenyan political scene, and again, let me try looking at a preview right from 2002. You will find that our winning coalition, the coalition that ultimately forms the government, is ordinarily crafted some 3 to 4 months to the election. And to that extent, I can say that it's still too early to really tell the shape that, our presidential election or presidential election shall take in the year 2022. But of course, the formations have already started building up. We can already see, the shape that the same will take. At least one thing that is there and which we can take to the bank is the fact that in the end of the day, it shall be about the winning coalition. It shall not be about any individual candidate purporting to have support across the board. Let me tell you, there is this saying that in the end of the day, chickens have to go home to roost. That is the position with most Kenyans. It will apply in all the regions. It will apply in Mount Kenya and all the other places. They shall gravitate around that which called, in other fora, they are called can you call them the ethnic kingpins, who rally them within particular political parties. And it is from there that they shall get the direction and the coalitions in which these characters shall be. It is such coalitions that in the end of the day shall shape our election 2022 and determine the direction in terms of who shall be the next president of Kenya.
Right. Dr. Even as we come now to the close, are we likely to see now a female deputy president? Because at this particular point, most of these politicians who have declared their candidature now have not officially come out and said, I'm going to front a female as a deputy president or any other person. But most likely what you're saying is that, according to what you say, is that most of the politicians will pick their running mates from the mountain. But I've not heard you speak of a female as a running mate.
I think, although...
First of all, is it even possible to have one?
There's something that I want to explain about what's happening in Kenya at the moment, although. I have seen leaders who are called very popular leaders, who may not be in support of the presidency. I mean, those who are seeking for presidency. I mean, succumbing to the pressure of the local people that if you are not going to toe this line, you are not going to. So it is what I'm saying. 2022 will not be about the kingpins. It will be about the people on the ground deciding their fate. Like now in most of the places, I like what Wanjiki remarked, not Wanjiki, but Macharia said yesterday. He said the ground, you cannot change. They are talking as leaders, but they are referring the ground to the small men who are talking differently. The people who are doing the election. So in this case, it is not going to be about the kingpins. It's not going to be about the hens going to roost. It's about the hustler man on the ground. It's about that man on the ground. What they will decide will bring about the changes in this country. As to the female deputies, that I've been praying also that we have a female deputy president.
Even the president.
I long to see His Excellency the deputy president going for a female. I long to see Raila Odinga going for a female. I long to see even Mudavadi and the likes going for a lady. We want to see a country. When Suluhu came to our country, the president of Tanzania, and it changed our mindset about ladies. I mean, even the relationship that we have now with the Republic of Tanzania, it is a very cordial relationship. That came as a result of a humble, clever lady. We had been with loggerhead with the past regime, but now the things change all of a sudden because of this lady. Now we are foreseeing, I'm foreseeing, and that is my prayer, Olo, that come 2022, the all presidential candidates should go to be deputized by ladies in this country. That will form a very formidable kind of government. Now, even in Kenya, it is no longer about referring to about outside. We have the best examples. Go to visit our judiciary. Ladies all through, but these are very competent lot. And in this case, even that position of deputy president, and in future, the position of presidency, we long to see ladies in this country come into position.
Absolutely.
May God bless this country.
Absolutely. Wakili Ken Amondi, absolutely, we have just to leave it at that particular point. Thank you so much for your time. Apparently, we are just stuck out of time. It's already time. Time is already up. Dr. Otich, thank you so much for coming.
You, my brother.
Absolutely. All right. So that is what we had time for you at that particular point. That was Eye on Politics. Remember, we are still continuing the show. We are taking a very short break, but Jen will be right back with more. Stay with us.
Yeah, you have finally shown up.
Tell me, what is your demand?
It's simple.
Jingwu, get His Majesty out of here now. Hurry. Majesty.
Timur. Don't!
Mother! Mother!
Quiero amarte de una forma diferente, de otro modo.
You told Celia that you would take care of that when she was about to leave them here. Right here. Here. Here!
It's because I don't feel right, Nora. I don't feel fine. I'm so sad. I'm so scared for Max's future, for mine, for my babies.
I guess. It seems like they're all after the same thing, but I really feel that they have very different reasons.
We're siblings. You're my sister.
My brother? You're my brother?
Vamos, recobremos los momentos de una forma diferente, de otro modo, nunca igual al de otra gente, respetando tus espacios.
Nikikwambia hauna tena kuongea, nimesema mimi natukana. Maya, baba kwa nakujali tena sana.
Kazi zimepungua, so I'll have lots of time with you.
Kazi zimepungua ama kids ama cha kukusumbua.
Babe, please.
Unaniongea vibaya, lakini ukiniona mikono ya kuteleza vitu vishikike.
I cannot even breathe that. Hata sijui calling again wala sijui mwamina.
Sasa mwenzako nikikutuma, angalau pata mtu kuongea naye.
Kwa kuwa umeambiwa uko ndani sina mtu wa kuzungumza naye.
Nani?
Ushauri kete na utaka sasa ni kuhusu kazi zangu, kampuni yangu. Basi.
Welcome back. Thank you so much for staying with us. We want to continue with the day's programming, and we are now on to our Family Check segment, and today we're going to be looking at teen pregnancies. Now, this is something that has been catalyzed to insane levels looking at the past year, and especially so of course, guided by the statistics that we have been able to see. And mind you, these figures that have been provided are not conclusive, because there are so many other cases that involve teen pregnancies that always go unreported. And just looking at what we currently have, teen pregnancies in Kenya currently stand at 18%. That basically boils down to the age group that has been categorized, and that is 15 and 18. 1 in every 5 girls is either pregnant or has already given birth. And these are young girls who are aged between 15 and 19. 1 in every 5 girls. Do you understand the depth of the crisis that this clearly shows you? Well, that is a discussion that we want to have this morning, and with us in studio to help with this conversation, we have Tabitha Ogutu, who is a journalist as well as the program's coordinator working with Young Women Leaders Connect. Good morning, Tabitha.
Good morning, Jane.
Thank you so much for making time to be with us.
Thank you so much for having me here.
Are you available on the social media platforms so that our viewers can also interact with you?
You can
go ahead and give us your handles.
You can get me on my Facebook at Tabi Ogutu, also on Instagram Tabi Ogutu, and also on my Facebook page at Tabi Ogutu. Across all social media handles, Tabi Ogutu.
Awesome. Now let's just start by just looking at these stats. 1 in every 5 girls. How does that make you feel?
It makes me feel heartbroken, because 1 out of every 5 girls, they're pregnant, but not because they're ready, but it's because of situation. Like they have found themselves pregnant. They're teenagers. Some of them come from very a poor background, I'm sorry to say, humble background.
Yes.
And that means they cannot make or give bread or food or even just provide for these children they are already bringing on earth, because the families and parents are already struggling. So if 1 out of every 5 girl in this country is getting pregnant, then this is a conversation that we don't need just to have it today, but it needs to continue even across all the social media and even, with other media houses, because it's something that is really worrying, Jane, as you've put it. It's not something to smile about.
But do you also think that this is also an age group that has been targeted by, sadly so, by the perpetrators? Looking at 15 to 19, and just looking at the 10 years, it goes back to 13. And we also hear cases of girls as young as 8 and 9 getting impregnated. Do you feel this is a category that is targeted by the perpetrators?
Yes, I will say that the perpetrators should really be held accountable for this. Because why else would you go for an age 12 or 9, or even though I've seen even 9-year-old, some of them get raped, some of them undergo this stuff and they get pregnant along the, and you realize that many of them are just maybe in the primary school, or even some of them have just gotten into high school. So when the perpetrators target this particular group of girls and they end up getting pregnant and they end up leaving schools, you realize what we are seeing in this country is that vicious cycle. Number one, of poverty. Number two, of we're not going to have many women getting educated as we want in terms of women empowerment. So it calls for a need for the society to be accountable. This particular group of men, not all of them, but we have those other groups which are very good.
The biggest percentage.
The biggest percentage. But this particular group of men who sees these young girls who still need to do a lot with their life in terms of growth and development as tools for sexual gratification should really be held accountable and charged, because we do not want a country where our girls cannot go to school because they are early mother. It's not a good situation to be in as a country.
Absolutely, and especially when it's unintended.
Let's
look at some of those factors that we need to really put focus on that are allowing these teen pregnancies to thrive. And let's just start with the most obvious one, which is this pandemic. I'm just looking at the stats. It is estimated that the first 3 months of the pandemic, during the lockdown, there were 152,000 teen pregnancy cases that were reported. The pandemic in itself, from even what you have seen with your organization, to what extent do you think it has catalyzed teen pregnancies? Or are we also unfairly blaming the pandemic for these teen pregnancies?
I think even before the onset of the pandemic, we were not doing very good as a country in terms of dealing with the issues of teenage pregnancy. We had the numbers, but during the pandemic and that time when the schools were closed and the girls were forced to be home, the teenagers, the situation became even dire. Jen, even just to bring you up to speed, we have the girls who get pregnant, these teenagers, because they just can't have access to proper menstrual hygiene products. And therefore, the people who maybe they call their boyfriends because, they do not really have the education with their parents on those matters. They tell them, I give you 50 shillings,
it becomes
you use me, and then it's just transactional. And then they get pregnant just because they could not afford a packet of sanitary towel. So this goes a long way to show us how even poverty is really contributing to these early teenage pregnancies, because some of these teenage pregnancies are a result also of these girls leaving school and going to get married. We should also address that issue of early mothers and early marriages, and how our parents, because that is the basic structure of the society, the family. The role, I think, to some extent, some parents are really failing in mentoring. You're the first role model to your children, and you're the first teachers to your children. So we allow our children to be taught by the social media and the likes of the people they do not know. So it's an open conversation that we need to have with our girls and tell them that at the end of the day, you still have a long way to go in terms of development, and there is time for everything,
There is time for everything. And I like the fact that you've brought in, the fact that culture and religion definitely has a role to play in some of these cases. Just today in the papers, there was a case of parents who pulled their 17-year-old daughter out of school so as to marry a 26-year-old teacher. You can see the irony of that situation.
Very ironical.
Taking this child out of school just to marry a man who has gone through school and became a teacher. Now, let us just take a step back and understand the role that culture, in this day and time that we are in, still has a heavy grip on teen pregnancies that we are seeing.
Yes, and if you look at that situation very well, Jane, you'll realize that the reason why these parents, if you really go down and just check the track record, you find that they are really poor maybe. So for them, a teacher who's graduated and gotten and gotten a job
seems successful.
Yes, it's like, so you're not even marrying your children for the right reasons. You're marrying them for the material, possession and things like those ones, which, if you ask me, it will just be for a short term. You see, when you educate your children, even if you cannot really afford to take them to school sustainably, but you really fight to take these girls to school. I always believe that a girl who is educated normally comes back and change the whole narrative of the families. I've seen families where they were struggling and they really believe that, at the end of the day, we need our children to go to school, not to marry them off to some rich men. And because of that, when you educate them and they get the best out of what they can get as they develop in the journey of life and career and all that, it becomes a good cycle, because even the family history in terms of economy really changes. So these are kind of stories that are really disheartening. I think some of these parents should serve as an example. Government needs to do something through the Ministry of Education about this particular type of parents.
But how then do we deal with these cultural stereotypes that still look at girls as commodities for trade? In as much as we are in these modern times, we need to be awake to the reality that there are some cultural, retrogressive cultural practices that still view girls as people who don't need to be educated. They're just to be seen, not to be heard. Educate the boy child, msichana ataolewa eventually. What can we do to change this narrative? Because we cannot ignore it yet, because it's still thriving.
Yes, it's really thriving, and it's very saddening at the same time. Girls, the place of the girl child, or the place of the women, really changed long time ago. It's just that now we need to embrace it and spread this gospel. I've realized that it's not well spread, even in those rural areas.
That's the problem.
Yes, in the interiors. We need to know that the girl child is not just for marriage and for childbearing and for the kitchen and all those. We really have a special space in the table right now. The girl child it should be empowered enough to be able to tackle the world. The world is becoming so competitive, such that if we just let our girls just go outside there, and what we have equipped them, because some of our parents really equip us to be really performing ahead of getting into marriages, but they not equip us on how to get into those marriages, because right now the economies are so hard. If you're taking your girl to get married, even let's say, and they do not have a social of a source of economic income, or they don't have something they can do, then it becomes a burden. And that's why we are seeing that when they go there, gender-based violence is also something. Because at the end of the day, the man will be like, I'm providing too much. Because you come also from a humble family, your family is also looking at you. I can do all this by myself. So it becomes the hatred, and we have that they start, looking at you with some sort of, they do not give you the respect that you should be accorded as a woman. So it's about that time that we realize that marriage, or even a girl, is not a form of a transactional material possession that you are waiting for cows, so that the cows are what you're looking for. This girl is just to be exchanged with cows. When you educate a girl, they bring much more to the table. I'll say that for these parents who still have the stereotype that for us we have a girl, that means we have a lot of money, we have a lot of cows. Like where I come from in Nyanza, when you get married, you're supposed to be exchanged with cows and things like those ones. I'm worthy more than just cows. I need a little bit more. So if that perception can really change with these parents who still feel that, our girls are a source of income for us in terms of being exchanged to another family or in another marriage for them to bring us something, so they don't need education. Then they're putting the girls, number one, in a situation whereby they're going to be used, they're going to be disrespected, and the future, since it's really coming to where the girls the women are really taking it up in terms of leadership and everything, they're going to be left behind. It's not a good thing to look at.
Now let's talk about parents, and you touched on it a bit, and this is the whole question of sexual education. For most of us, when it comes to even your body parts, we find parents using appropriate words to refer to your body parts instead of using the actual word to refer to your private parts specifically. And even at school is where you are taught about sexual health and reproductive education, as well as sex education. Understanding that the role that parents have to play in this, and the fact that they are not as effectively being part of the conversation about sexual education with our children is also a factor that is contributing to teen pregnancies.
All right, Jane, we should call spade a spade, you know.
Yes.
There's no need of using synonyms to refer to this private parts, because at the end of the day, they know they're called this, and if you don't tell them anyway, they're going to learn it from the community or the society, you know. Wanasema asiyefunzwa na mamaye hufunzwa na, you know, the dunia will funza them, and that is where we are going wrong as parents. Have these honest conversations. I want to give you a good example.
Yes.
You know, my parents, like my father, when I was in Form 2, he had a very honest conversation with me. He told me, you know, you are in Form 2 right now, and you are allowed to, you know, get to know, you know, the opposite gender, you know, but this and this and this are the results if you do not take care of yourself. Because he knew either way, I still know and I still go practice these things, you know. But then the fact that he sat down with me and told me as a parent that this and this, if done and not done well, then you'll end up here in the house pregnant, and your school will be distracted, and you'll not want to even start thinking about what your future will be holding. Because for some of these girls, as you say, that are getting pregnant as early, you know, teenage pregnancy, some of them don't even get time to go back to school.
Yes.
Because number one, their parents believe, you know, you're a misfortune to the family. So really, why do I need to take you back to school? I already gave you the first shot. Remember, for these teenage mothers, they already been denied one chance in their life, you know. So once bitten, twice shy, you cannot deny them double chances. So as a parent also, we're not like encouraging teenage mothers or whatever. But if, for example, your child, your girl gets pregnant at the age of 16, tell me, you expect this child to just be a parent for the rest of their life and not do anything with their life, you know? It's upon us to, you know, the fact that you failed as a parent. Sometimes it's not even you fail. Sometimes even our girls don't want to hear these things. But just keep telling them. Just keep instilling these values. Tell them that, you know, sex is not a taboo, as people put it. Just tell them, because they know about the sex. But when it comes from the parent, and you tell them the dangers that come with it, as a young girl, you are 16, you are 15, you're 14, you know, and sometimes they do not even know. You can assume that they know that, you know, these things happen like this. They really do not know. So once you play your part as a parent, then you are sure, you know, that your child is going to turn up in some sort of way. But you cannot expect heaven when you're not creating it, you know, with your children. So it's an open conversation that the parents should not feel ashamed of talking about. Sex is not a taboo, for me, if you ask me. Yes.
We have moved from that age-old time where it was a taboo to even mention the opposite, be seen with the opposite gender.
Yes.
Now, this brings me to another controversial aspect, and this is more of the recent emerging trends, and this is all about family planning and contraceptives. There has been a lot of debate about starting young girls, as long as they have hit puberty, you start them onto a contraceptive of one form or the other, just to help prevent teen pregnancies. But on the flip side, there are those that are misusing these contraceptives as an excuse to engage in early sexual activity. How do we balance the use of contraceptives and family planning to ensure that we are actually using them to prevent teen pregnancies, and using them in a healthy way, if there is a healthy way, especially where young girls are involved?
Jen, the question that I'll ask you is it even okay for a teenager to start using the contraceptive, and even start using family planning methods? Is it really something that you sit down and
again, it being a very controversial issue?
It's something that I think, for me, I'll say that it's not okay, the teenagers, because what are we really encouraging is family planning. What family are these teenagers planning at this time? You see, I think you're also interfering with their, you know, biological and the reproductive systems in their body. So I will not advocate for that, because some of these parents, they're doing it out of the fear that this child will come back home pregnant. And you're not seeing the long-term effects of what this will do to their body. Some of them have not even had kids, and you're already introducing this you know, to their body. So for me, that area still remains a little bit sensitive, you know, because I do not see why we should be introducing our children. You know, at least when you are grown, you know the reason why you're getting into contraceptive. But as a parent introducing, like, let's say, a 15-year-old contraceptive, what are we really doing as society? I think. And also, we cannot live hypocritically and say it's not happening. So
that's the thing, looking at these statistics, 15 to 19-year-old girls are, 1 in every 5 of them gets a child.
Yes.
Or has already given birth. In order to prevent future pregnancies, Do you think contraceptives are something that should be introduced, especially for those that have already been mothers or are expectant?
I'll say that maybe if they're really they're a little bit aged and they still need to go to school, but it's not an option that we should really look at it as a very viable one. We should allow our children to be children, let them go through the process of growth, and let it not be interfered with. What we can do is just make sure that we teach them about caution and more caution. Because if you can sit down here and say it's okay for them to use the contraceptive, and I know they're using it, I've seen the ones using it, but if you decide to go that way, also know what contraceptive you're using, so that at the end of the day you'll not be regretting that I used this and this and this has interfered with me like this, and those sort of things. So go to a doctor, go to a gynecologist, and have this conversation before getting your child, or even the child themselves, or children themselves, getting themselves into these contraceptive methods. But if you can avoid it when you're still in school, the better for you.
Now, let's move on to one of the last aspects, looking at the factors that are allowing teen pregnancy to thrive, and this is poor reporting of rape cases. We find so many teen girls getting raped, and most of these cases are settled out of court, settled within the family, settled within their village, within the neighborhood, and most of the time the perpetrators always go unpunished. And we see many of these cases keep repeating themselves over and over again. From where you stand, is this lack of reporting allowing for teen pregnancies to continue thriving?
I absolutely agree with you that lack of reporting is really contributing to the fact that the teenage pregnancies and all these is, and you see some of these even pregnancy cases, they're from family, you know.
That's the problem.
Your uncle, you know, raped you, has made you, you know, things like those, which are really not things that we really want to hear, but they're realities. And so, in fact, when a teenager gets pregnant in the family from a family member relative, that is where you find that this cases goes unreported, because you want to preserve the name of the family at the expense of the right of this person who has been, you know, so what we need to have is a society where when you are caught or you're found to be guilty of impregnating or even raping, whether you are the father, you are the uncle, you are the whole, or even the society as it is, all of them are brought to book, so that we as a society we are fighting. It's a monster already, you know, and it's very disheartening when we are not even safe within our family. So what are we really doing when we want to just make the family look good, and yet the values of the family have been, you know, disoriented? So we should report these cases, because the unreported cases, they're the ones leading to time and time again numbers. So we are fighting these teenage pregnancies, but they're not going down, they keep escalating. So it's because of the lack of accountability from, you know, the families especially, and even the communities, because they do not want to be seen as bad people at the expense of the victims.
And why do we always find cases where the perpetrator is someone who is familiar with the victim, either a relative, as you rightfully put it, and that is something that even the justice system did note. The perpetrators are either family members or a partner, or a previous or a current partner. Looking at teen pregnancies, why do you think the perpetrator is always someone who is familiar to these young girls?
You see, by the way, you normally find, like, for example, the perpetrators in the family setup. There are these people who appear, like, you normally feel like you're so safe with them.
Yeah, they appear harmless?
Harmless, very harmless. So you'll not at any point start thinking like, you know, this person can harm me. And then they take advantage of the fact that they have earned your trust in terms of, you know, you can talk to them freely, you can have conversations with them, and then some of them even intimidate you when they've already, you know, gotten you to, you know, to have these sexual acts with them. So I don't know if our girls are safe anymore, because we've seen even a situation where real uncles, you know, get to, you know, interfere with their rights as girl child. At even young age, as young as 9 years old. So it's a conversation, I think, that is very sensitive. It needs to be heard from the family. If, for example, an uncle, you know, abuses the right of this small young girl, then there is no need of having mercy, because I tell you, if you talk to a victim of rape, they'll tell you that it is something that they live with for the rest of their lives. So when they get to an age when they realize, oh, I got pregnant as a result of this and this and this, I was molested, I was done what, you know, they become very, they have some sort of hatred in them, and you will be really in charge as a parent of why was this person not held to or not held accountable because they went scot-free at the expense of interfering with your psychology and things like that, and it comes haunting you at the end of the day. So let us have our children in mind as our first priority, then the rest comes later.
So what do you think it will take for us to break this vicious cycle of silence that is seemingly thriving in every single space where a teen pregnancy has been reported?
Right.
There's always one way or one person looking to just put that lid and not really give the reality of the matter. What will it take to break that cycle?
It will take a lot. Number one, it takes, I'll still go back, it will start from the family. Let the family be a safe space for our girls. Let the family be a place where, and also these parent-child relations, be very friendly to your children. You know, some of the girls get pregnant or even get into these sexual things and they do not know even how to just approach their mothers and have this conversation because you're too harsh. Be a friend to your child, and by that time you'll not be surprised that, oh, my girl got pregnant, I didn't know about it. You know, as a parent, that one feels like you failed because you did not know how. It's because you did not have a relationship. Let us have a relationship with our children as friends. Secondly, for this cycle to break, the community should stop looking at the girls, especially these perpetrators, as just a source of sexual gratification. They're not. They're really not. If it's the time to go to school, that is what we need to support. If the girl does not have a sanitary towel, I always say it should not be a reason why they should get pregnant and leave school. Let us always be like we say, brothers keepers to these girls. Let us provide for their education, you know. If a girl, or even the teenage one, because when you talk about teenagers, we have even the boys, let us have people who can come on board and support them to go to school, so that a girl from a needy family does not have to maybe exchange the bodies in terms of getting some money to go to school or even to buy some of these necessities because they are from a poor family. Poverty is not something that has dignity, so we should not really gratify it, and so that it becomes a vicious cycle in our community. As I said, when we empower girls, we take them to school, the society changes at the end of the day. So the community has a role to play in that, having that in mind. Second, thirdly, then we have these organizations, you know, that talk on matters, the culture, the space of the women, the society. Even the women leaders in this country, I always say that at the end of the day, their time will go, you know, with the time they will, you know, will face off. Who are they mentoring? Are they looking at the lives of these young girls as the face of women leadership in this country in years to come? So they have a very special role to play in advocating for some of these things. Number one, in advocating for sanitary towel to, you know, be a free commodity in this country, because, you know, I'll have an argument that maybe we should not be having, for example, somebody getting pregnant or a young girl getting pregnant because they lack sanitary towels. And we have women leaders who can advocate for that. They're trying, but there's so much more that needs to be done. The county governments need to locate special budgets for these girls, you know, to get some of these products, you know, for example, the menstrual hygiene product, because I've done a research and it has shown that some of these girls, you sit with them down, they're telling me what I lack is a sanitary towel, and that's why I got pregnant. And therefore, for that reason, there's a need for the county government also to do something about it. Has to be devolutionary, like the devolutionary, because it can't just come from the national government. It's a joint effort at the end of the day. We have now, even the government as a national government, there's a bill that is in the parliament. It's still taking time to be passed, that will make sure that our girls, you know, have a safe space and even be able to access some of these basic necessities that make them vulnerable and even get pregnant at the end of the day. This vicious cycle, as you've seen, is not a one-person's thing. It's a society thing, and in realizing that the place of a woman, like we talked earlier, is not just to be, you know, transactional. Like, you've given birth to me as a girl, what you're seeing is my future. When I get 15 years old, Ngombe 70. Ngombe 70, yeah? And some good check is what I want from you. Whatever happens to you is none of my business. So I'll also say that the vicious circle will also break if we can have an open conversation about sex with our teenagers. It's not a taboo anymore.
It is not a taboo anymore.
Yes.
Now let's look at the girls that have already fallen pregnant. They have had their children and they want to go back to school.
Yeah.
Or they have been excommunicated for that matter. And they want to go back home, they want to be with their families. That reintegration is also something that is not really catered for. How can we create an environment that will create a healthy space for these girls to be reintegrated back into the community and back even into the school system for those who want to go back to school and need to be taken back to school?
All right, that's a very good question, I'll say. I say that these girls who get pregnant already, and for example, you're at the age of 16, tell me, you're already a mother, and then what is it that you really want to do with your life? At this point, this is a frustrated person. Some of them end up even committing suicide because the families, they do not want to associate with them, with this particular kind of people. Their mothers become hostile, and that's why you find that these teenage girls who get pregnant, they more or less want to just get into marriages. They have no idea about marriage. Marriage nowadays is not just getting there and, you know, having kids and cooking. What are you going there to cook? And you can provide something on the table as a woman. You know, the place has changed, you know, because what a man can do, a woman can do even, you know. So for the society, we need to see that our teenage mothers, they are not just people whom we can ignore. We can ignore like that. They have to go back to school if they were still in school. But then, once bitten, twice shy. I know the lessons they learned there. They learned as being mothers early. If somebody really wants something with their life, they can't repeat it again. So we should not discommunicate them from our families and ignoring that they also have a right to education, a right to good life at the end of the day, and also they're human beings. So as a parents, let us just embrace our children, even when they get pregnant. It's not like we want them to get pregnant, but it happens already. They already get pregnant. But then you cannot say that they can't go back to school. Take them back to school. The teachers in those schools, let us be accommodative of these people. Let us not see them as, you know, people who have failed in life. I've seen people who got pregnant when they were still in high school, did not finish school, and they went back, and they're doing very well in life. They're the best doctors, the best teachers, even the best professors, and even journalists, if you ask me, because it's not the end of the road for anybody who gets pregnant. Their future and their dreams are still very valid, like any other person who still wants to pursue the journey of life.
Absolutely. We need to be our sisters' keepers and encourage them to go back and pursue education if they desire to do so, or help them get back into a semblance of normalcy.
Right.
Now, let me come to your organization, Young Women Leaders Connect, in terms of even what you are doing to just ensure that you are speaking against teen pregnancies, the projects that you are engaging in to help fight this menace.
So first of all, I also, we as an organization, we make sure that our girls, you know, the ones, especially from the slum areas and the rural areas, and which are very needy, we get to them and we try to find partnerships and see how we can, number one, have the conversations with the teenage mothers. Number two, you know, see how we can sustainably provide for them the sanitary towels. And even where the need be, if really a girl is not able to go to school and get this basic, you know, school fee because their teenage mothers and their parents are not supportive, we can call for individuals who are willing, you know, to come and support them. At the end of the day, the girls, or even the future of women leaders in this country, is a responsibility, you know, as a people.
All right. And you have mentioned partnerships, and maybe just looking at what you guys are already doing. And of course, as we say, this is a multifaceted conversation. We need help from all these different quarters. As an organization, as an individual, what kind of assistance do you feel is necessary even to your organization, to your individual goals when it comes to helping end teen pregnancies?
You see, for example, I'll give you an example. When it comes to maybe donating this menstrual hygiene products, you can't, if you go there one time and give them, of course, so what have you done, you see? So maybe you maybe give them at a period maybe of 4 or 5 months, then after those 4 or 5 months for these particular people, you go back then and give them, so you're sure that it's sustainable. So if maybe we have partners who partner with us and make this sustainable for us and easy, because it's not a very easy thing to do, then it makes it consistent, because consistency is the key. It's not just a matter of coming, sit down here and talk about, you know, providing, and it's something that you just go and do. It's like just a one-time show or PR. which is something we need to stop. It's about time that we incorporate programs in the society that we see the impact and it's sustainable. There is no need of for example, even taking, for example, you take a child to school or a girl child to school for the first form one, let's say for Form 1, and then you leave them there and they do not have money to continue their studies. So what are you really doing? So it's something that we need to see up to the value chain, which is the end goal. Yes.
All right. So those that can contribute some of these menstrual hygiene management items, not just do it on or just one-off basis.
It should be sustainable.
Because, I mean, menses are a physiological process.
It's biological.
Every single month a girl has her menses. So when you do give sanitary towels for this month, and then the next month they have to figure it out for themselves, it needs a sustainable way of doing it.
Yes, it's sustainable ways. Let us have, I always say that you do not need to support even us. If you can do it at the point you are, because maybe you're not in Nairobi or thereabout, but you're somewhere, maybe in Marsabit. Let us introduce these sanitary towels, ATMs, where they can access the sanitary towels. It's sustainable is the key thing here.
Not a one-off thing.
It should not be a one-off thing. You go and give sanitary towels, then you take photos and you post them, and then what about next month? You have not helped these girls.
Yes, you're there saying you've done your good deed for the day. And that now brings in the county government and even the national government, given all this about sexual reproductive health rights fall under the Ministry of Health, and health is a devolved ministry. How can they step in and make sure that at the minimum some of this menstrual hygiene management materials are something that every girl can access? Looking at the county and the national government, before we even get to individuals who want to be part of the course.
All right. You see, the county government actually, as I said earlier, they need to allocate a budget that caters for, and I'm given to understand that the Women Representative's Office have this kind of budget, but you see, for some counties the effect felt from the budget is so dismal, in fact even not at all. So it needs to be a money or a budget that circulates and they're able to provide for the girls. And even moving on in future, just as a county does their budget, they should have some of these things in mind, so that at the end of the day, as a county or even a county governor, you stand and say that we are experiencing the issue of teenage pregnancies and dropout of girls out of school. Then you say, as a country, we have played this part in making sure that they are catered for. So when you're a part of the conversation, you need to also be part of the solution. So the budget is key. And also there's so many other NGOs, for example, work in the counties. The county, as a county government, you really have the muscles to pull resources. Let us pull the resources to give these girls some of these products and even take them to school. You see, like I've had very depressing cases where, like this particular time when they start for their KCPE, now they want to go transit to the high school. Somebody scored as high as 350 as a girl, and they're not able to go to school up to now, basically because their family cannot afford. They are poor. So what are we doing about this kind of girls, apart from just the CDF, you see? So it's a contributing factor, because this girl will sit home and say, okay, if I can't go to school, let me get married. That is a teenage mother.
And start life.
You see, it's not an easy thing as we want to put it. So they have a really big role to play, and they should not ignore the plight of the girl child. As the national government, this bill that is in the parliament, you see, on making education and even the menstrual hygiene discussion better for our girls, it should just pass already if it has not, because when it passes, then the access to some of these things will be easy, and that is really what we want. It's a conversation that has to start from the bottom going up, but the government has a very big role to play in this conversation. So it should also take it as their sole responsibility to ensure that the citizens of this country who are the girl child are taken care of, because they're the future of tomorrow leadership.
Now, as we close this conversation, maybe just there's your camera and just your call to action message to our teen girls in terms of how exposed they are to, you never know if it is you today or the next person tomorrow. Your call to action message to our teen girls, to our parents, and any other person in the value chain that has a role to play in terms of preventing teen pregnancies.
Thank you very much for that question. I'll start with the teenagers. I always say that at the end of the day, it's your life to live. you're not leaving it for the parent, you're not leaving it for the community or for any other person. It's you. So for before you go into maybe you want to get pregnant as a teenager, look at where you're coming from, and if it's really something that will add value to your life at the end of the day. It can't add value to your life. So if you can really avoid getting pregnant as a teenager, then it goes a long way in ensuring that your development process as a young lady or as a young girl is not interfered with. And education is everything. If you have the opportunity to get educated, then it will change a lot in your life. For the parents, as we say, that you have a very great responsibility in playing, in nurturing your children. You're the first role model. So let us instill in them the family values that make sure that they're equipped to even tackle the world. Let them not learn about sex in the community or social media or from friends. Let them hear it from you first. It's not a taboo. And for the community, for those perpetrators, our girls are not instrument of sexual gratification. See them as the people who will change the narrative about poverty, about economic and empowerment and things like those ones in our society. So giving them the opportunity, and it's called a friendly environment for them to study and become better of themselves, and even holding those people who perpetrate some of these things accountable as a community will go a long way. And as organizations and individuals, if you can support a girl or even a teenager in terms of even mentoring them and providing to them even school fee, even some of these sanitary towels and menstrual hygiene products, it will go in a long way in making sure that we have the face of women leadership, and even just women who can sit in the table and say that I did my part, I was supported, and here I am today because somebody took their time to make something better out of my life. So for everybody, as women leaders in this country, we need to have the young girls and the young ladies and the teenagers in our mind that once you're done with your term, even as a legislature, once you're done with your term, even, it doesn't, even as a CEO or whatever, what are you doing to make sure that that table is not going to be left void, but another girl who is empowered very well will come and fill it? So let us do our part at the end of the day. I think I've done it quite well.
Yes, give us your social handles once more so that they can be able to follow up in case of anything.
All right, you can follow me on Tabi Ogutu across all the social media platforms. Yes.
All right, thank you so much for that. You went full circle right there, but it is necessary. Thank you so much for making time to be with us today, helping us discuss this whole menace that is teen pregnancies. We have been speaking with Tabitha Ogutu. She is a journalist as well as the program's coordinator working with Young Women Leaders Connect. Thank you so much once again.
Thank you so much for having me.
Karibu sana.
All right.
And that brings us to a close of this particular discussion. Thank you so much for being with us. We thoroughly appreciate that you made time to be with us. On behalf of the crew, we want to wish you a lovely day, but we want to leave you with this particular feature that was done just highlighting the problem that is teen pregnancies here in our country. My name is Jinwan Boy. Do enjoy this.
Clarice Kadenyi is an 18-year-old mother from Mukuru Kwanjenga informal settlement in Nairobi.
Baba ya mtoto tangu nipate ball ajai kuwa supportive, hasa akanitoroka, ajai leta hata niliombea nimezaa, ajai kuja kuona mtoto, pampers hajakuja kumletea, hata shilingi hajakuja. Huyu kijana aliniambia hati tukana urafiki na yeye, ataweza nisaidia hata kama ni kulipa school fees ama pia kunibaiya sanitary towels, ofisi alinidanganya.
With love gone on the other hand and a bundle of joy on the other, Clarice opted to drop out of school. Necessity, they say, is the mother of invention. With the COVID-19 pandemic affecting livelihoods, Clarice says the business has lots of challenges.
Unaweza enda kuuzia mtu sambusa na pesa ingine, sume kama ni 10, atasema hapana, hataki, amezoea ile price yenye amezoea kuuza. Juu sasa hivi unaona unga imepanda, mafuta imepanda, hawezi kubali. Sasa inabidi tu nimeuze nayo kobole, na kwa hiyo kobole hapo simetuka hiyo 200, hakuna naweza pata faida kidogo, alafu niko sasa kupika hiyo siku nyingine. Juu pia hiyo pesa ndo nahitaji kutumikia kununulia mtoto nayo kitu. Saa zingine watu huko nje wanakuchekelea. Pia mamangu na yeye unatuni kama ninamletea mzigo. Juu watu hawezi kosa kuniongelelea huko nje. Anasema mtoto amezaa mtoto, shule alikataa kuenda. ako tu, hakuna kitu anafanya.
17-year-old Mary, not her real name, says she is unable to handle the stigma that comes with teenage pregnancy.
Watu wengine wananiangalianga vibaya, unaona wananipoint. Sasa unajua itumbo pia. Watoto wangeanza kucheka, waanze kunibeba vibaya. Hadi wengine wanitoroke, unajua kwa class niachwe peke yangu. Sasa kwa nitaka hivyo.
Through a phone interview with Embakasi Girls High School principal, she has to deal with the stigma of teenage mothers.
Right now we have 6 girls who have confirmed and actually they have talked about their being pregnant. Many times the parents they feel that they have been embarrassed and such. We also ask the class teachers to devolve that discussion to class level, especially where the girls are.
Yes.
So that these girls are well received by their peers.
Yes.
However, there is the aspect here, the girl herself coming to accept the fact that she's becoming a mother at this age sometimes can pose challenges. For that, we attach them to a teacher, a specific teacher to work with them.
Teenage mothers need emotional support if they are to achieve their dreams.
We need to encourage such girls so that we can motivate them even as they walk through this journey. That, because of also their health, so that even the baby that they are carrying, they are able to deliver a mature baby. Because when they go through stress and thinking about the neglect and the situation and the environment that they are in back at home, it really affects them and affect their health. And you see, this girl can start thinking so much, and that's why we are getting cases of suicide.
Irene Balilwa, a mentor of girls in the area, is concerned with the trend.
Yes. I'm telling you, in Mukuru, ni wengi. Maybe haiwezi kuwa captured kwa media, ama haiwezi kuwa captured in other way, but a lot of girls are becoming pregnant as young as 14, 13.
An excerpt from Chapter 3 of the National Guidelines of the School Re-Entry Policy states that the learner and parents or guardians shall sign a committal letter for the pregnant learner to re-enter school 6 months after delivery, which provides time to nurse the baby.
The president has directed, and we have kept saying this. I told my colleagues who are here from the Ministry of Education, it's now government policy. All those children have got to go to school. Whether or not they're expectant, they have to go to school, and teachers are going to work together with the leaders to ensure that we keep those children in school.
According to the government's re-entry to school policy, learners who have attained the age of 18 years shall be advised to enroll for adult and continuing education or vocational training centers to complete school. For Clarice Kadenyi to achieve her dream of becoming a teacher, she needs support to take care of her baby as she pursues her dream. Sheila Yogo reporting for KBC in Nairobi.
Hi, this is Cover Girl Looks with Christine Kuria, and today's episode is all about beauty with a purpose. My guest for today is Wahiga Muteru. She's recovering from alcoholism, and she is a brilliant actress and a writer. You can follow her blog after this. So exciting for me to be working with her because I really want to bring back that glamorous girl in her. I can't wait for you guys to see. Wahiga, thank you so much for coming and sharing your story with us today.
Thank you for having me, Christine.
So you've been sober for about 7 months.
Yes.
Wow, congratulations, Wahiga.
Thank you. Thank you.
I'm sure it's not been easy. Can you please tell us more about how you started?
I started drinking heavily when I was about 19 years old. So that was my second year in university. And yeah, I loved the taste of alcohol. I loved the effect. Alcohol and myself reacted very well together.
Okay.
In the sense that it numbed me emotionally. Whatever pain, if I was uncomfortable, if I was shy, it cancelled all that out, and I was able to escape.
What was it that actually drove you to drinking? Because sometimes it could be an emotional thought or emotional feelings. What was your reason? And I'm sure some people would say the devil made me do it.
Yeah. I guess the devil made me do it, but in my own voice. Because the basic line was, I enjoyed drinking. I loved the effect. That's why I was constantly chasing the high, because of the relief that alcohol gave me. I loved it. I was actually the ringleader in terms of my friends and getting alcohol. I was very inquisitive as a kid, so I looked for it. That's how I got to, and I used to go to parties that, in which people were drinking and stuff as a teenager.